की कॉलेज का युमान हम लोग तेरे की सुमान है से या कि होदिंगा बात ये रूपे दिंगा फ्यूचर हम होदिंगा जो का अमदन हो की इधर को खिल को नहीं सा तेना लुंगिया नहीं सा तेना में तंगो है का काय को की को ना दिन में को ना जतम के दुनिया आही को दिंगा अलग भी दिंगा आकी को दिंगो आकी प्रिपेयर दिंगो career dari bawa kai choose right choose ani kene din ko kai abo do silung kim suma tu se lam lam man gad ka ta ni ko kai ba che resource ne din ka ta ko kai abo jam sa ko ke auni ko mo jo si ate sa guide api kene din la right choice abo sa kene din la kim suma chin lu kim din ka ta ni ka pa ka ba ka chen chen ne ka ko kai jisu christian ba ne ne ni ni ko kai jisu christian ka ni
Kalau kita ingin view part calculate sebagai part 17, aban macam itu welcome speech KSOD&NCR Education Secretary Panel.
Ano sa training atau bangka kami waktu itu again. Program lain kita itu resource person lagi, jangan tak resource person lagi. Jadi mereka tidak student soal. Jadi akan tahu dari sini, बहुत ज़्यादा कहीं नहीं हुए। ये KSOD&NCR Career Counselling Seminar 2026 चलाया हम इनका फिर 60% हो बहुत चुंगी हाथ उनको इनका तो पिवा चलाया हम चुंगा चुनाव सा करना था हम बहुत चलाया स्टूडेंट्स और भी सा प्रोग्राम में ना भी चुंगी आपको कैसे resource person lain lagi di bawah ini society semuanya ya tidak ama domain cia legal lagi ada military lagi ada sports lagi ada education lagi ada sudah entrepreneur lagi sampai domain cia itu ya few professions cia dua ini tak sudah example tak ini psikologi बोल परमिशन में लापी उनको बोलने चाहूँ काफी सही भी चुने KSOD&NCR एरिया में दस हुई एक्सपीरियंस हुई भी बहुत चुंगा प्रोग्राम बोलने के लिए आप आने लापी भी काफी इंसान ही तो ये प्रोग्राम में अपने बिना बहुत ही बोलने के लिए जो भी होते हैं काले तो जो वापस आए हैं सोसाइटी यहाँ सिंगल वाली डिस्ट्रक्शन जिंदा आगे होगी मुझे जब हम वो स्टूडेंट्स हुआ दिया करना होगा किरे लाइन डिस्ट्रक्शन हो जाए किरे चॉइसेस अधे होंगे तब का हम मुझे किरे काउंसलिंग सेमिनार की KSOD&NCR कैलेंडर बिगड़ ना आए कोई मोटा ये लाऊं की होंगे इसीलिए तुम्हें चिपका पाऊंगा करना होगा सिंगल ग्रुप करना है Dunia saya nanti lagi lagi berdoa untuk buat sukses. Jadi kita orang ini ini ada di rumah ini kita student soal ini semua spark oleh encouragement ho for career oleh for success sih हम था जो या guidelines में ना हम था ini nak yang kita student soal कि कौन देखने के लिए जो सोचना होगी उनके करोगे नहीं जैसे जो कई बार वो जो है कई बार चीज़ प्रोग्राम में लोग उन्हें दिखाना तासन चुके हैं लेकिन दुनिया हम बाबू जो स्टूडेंट्स हो रहे हैं जो ये करना हो तो सी हम आप उनके रेट डिसीजन डिसाइड नहीं करते लेकिन रेट एक्सप्लोर करोगे नहीं तो जो सब choices हो लाइफ में जो तब तक आगे आया तब चलती है लेकिन वो जो अच्छी प्रोग्राम नहीं ठीक हो रही है जैसे जो अच्छी प्रोग्राम आई है contain engage Gogou juga tak cuma tingin ini dia tak dia tak cuma pilih tinggi program ini boleh tinggi boleh sama tinggi. Thank you all. Please enjoy. Everybody enjoy the session. Thank you.
Like I said, new Education Secretary Conservation and Pathways Delivery. So I'd like to take a moment today to introduce you to our first resource person. Please welcome our first speaker, Dr. K Khaute. Ma'am is a distinguished legal scholar and is currently an assistant professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. Ihe diu khatsul nile tu zong Gogou nazong panasata analahin atisira national outlets the wire and young citizen for Zazzaromen atilsid hopo ona lagi citizen gain ahi. Please put a big round of applause for ma'am.
Good afternoon, and do I have 15 to 20 minutes? Is that okay? Yes, at the outset, I would have loved to speak in KUKI language, but I'm not good with the local dialects. And a brief introduction that I'll just tell about myself is that I never grew up in Manipur because of my father's posting. So my growing up was majorly in Shillong and then Calcutta. So for us, my parents are very broad-minded. So for them, Amy, anyone from Manipur is Amy. And the next category of person, Amy, anyone who's from North is a Christian. So we grew up in a very multilingual, family. So though by tribe we are K Khaute, but at home we speak Mizo because my mom is half Mizo. And then K is a language nobody speaks at home, except when we want to crack a bit of jokes or something like that, Otherwise, when my parents are into serious conversation, they speak K. So, and if dad is not very serious, then he speaks to us in Mizo, And we siblings, we communicate to one another in English or in Hindi. So even now, the family WhatsApp group, we speak in English because nobody speaks any Pang. So, especially KUKI language is something that I always was very fascinated about. And after marriage, now that I've married into a Midway family, my father was equally quite broad-minded and he speaks to me in Mizo. So, even with my husband, it is partly Pai, partly English, and partly Mizo. So, it's always so for me. I also need to apologize because in the past, I think 2 times when Sai and Mom was around, they invited me, but I was always traveling. So this time I was like, no, what? I don't want to be a part of the KSO because growing up in Shillong, what I witnessed was that, the KSO students would come to our place and they would have sometimes, from the church, they would have couple counseling. Nuneng P, she would come from Hyderabad. And so we had I have a very good memory of growing up, being surrounded by people irrespective of our community or the tribe that we belong to. So I think I'll take that liberty and I will, pardon me that I can't speak the language. So even if it was a YP, gathering, I still wouldn't be speaking in YP language. So, but when it comes to the KUKI language, there was a sentence that I always knew. And it was like, that was all that I knew, But I get very fascinated because I think it's a beautiful language. And I remember my mom would say that, when our KUKI brethren, when they pray, it feels like as if God is listening, So that's how royal the language is. So at the outset, thank you so much KSO, Delhi and NCR for having me. I am one of the most incompetent persons to be standing here to give you, just to come and deliver a speech as to what your career path should be. Because what I can actually say, as all of us are, ambassadors of Christ, I can say that my subject or my branch of work is what I did not decide for myself, but what God must have chosen for me. Because I tried a number of times to get away from academics, but the more I go away, the more it pulls me back. So then finally I said, okay, anyhow ye push and pull hote abhi 10 saal guzar gaya, so might as well sit here and do my work sincerely, But in the journey, I have learned a lot, and I think it would not be wrong to say that next month we will be completing 3 years of the crisis that, have really reduced us to a position of a nobody in our own land. So that also made me realize that maybe because God must have planned this for me so that I could at least be a voice, if not for everyone, but at least for someone. Because after this crisis, what we also realized is that our society, we are so drawn into civil service. And when your parents, when your father is also a bureaucrat, a retired bureaucrat, obviously there was some kind of a,
not a pressure, never from my parents, but there was always an expectation from the family, extended family, that okay, pam kwanzuidi, that was also always there. So we are 3 girls and the youngest is a boy, and my brother was very clear right from the start that bureaucracy is not something I want to get into. So out of the 4 of us, I was the one who was most inclined to sit for the exams, and in that way I also realized that I missed out so much on my life because I was sitting preparing for the prelims, sitting preparing for the mains exam. There was so much that I could have done, but having said that, this line of work that I've chosen and the subject also. Now, the reason why I studied law, to be very honest, was because my father always told me that, see, you love to speak, and advocacy is something where you can earn, speaking through your word of mouth. But it is far from, just babbling, because you need to make sense when you go to the courtrooms, right? And one reason why I wanted to study law was because, if you look at Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, you see that all these reformists or all these freedom fighters always had a background in law. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll also get a degree in law, and then, perhaps then I'll also be able to be a significant figure for my community people. That's how I always thought about it. But now that I'm in this branch of law, I just want to quickly take all of us through some few slides that I've prepared so that it's easier for you all to, make a career choice. Because many people come, they take admissions in law, and, they back out or they drop out. Because if I talk from the point of view of Delhi University, there are certain requirements that you need to pass to go to the final year. For instance, we have 10 papers every year divided into 2 semesters, right? 5 papers in the first semester, in the second semester you have another 5, so that makes it 10. So from first year to second year, to jump there, you need to clear 5 papers on 10, which means 50%. So Amy Hokana with no biasness, and I'm telling this very honestly because when you come to the university, we don't have godfathers. And we are not a part of BJP or any political party that's ruling. So, we feel very isolated. And there are times when I want to help the students, but I can't help them because at the end of the day, students are also to be blamed. You need certain amount of attendance. Most of the naughty students, what I see is out of at least 20 people, 5 of them will be waiting for their admit card in the last, on the last day. Now, what happens is, if we all are students here, if we are staying with our family or we're not staying with our family, the least we can do is to attend classes. And so when students come to us, then we are so helpless. What much can we do? Because rules are rules, right? Then after that, when you go from second year to third year, you need to clear 15 papers on 20. That makes it 75%. So people who come to second year with 5 on 10, in the second year, to go to third year, you cannot drop a single paper. And that's exactly when you'll see a lot of us, have a back paper. So you lose out a year, right? So with that note, I will just quickly dwell into our discussion. Now, if you can just go to the next slide, you will see that, so I have kind of, picked the topic like, why should we study law in India, right? So let us try to understand that what are the benefits of studying law in India as opposed to any other subject that you would want to pursue after your class 12 or after your graduation. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. See, when we talk about law, there are 6 main areas that I identified for the purpose of our discussion. The first being social justice and impact, and here I would want to press on the aspect of being a voice for the marginalized, because today we are all aware, I hope, at least the incident of 3rd May must have woken most of us up to realize that we are such few people. We are so marginalized. Now, like in our towns, right? I just know Kangpokpi, I know Churachandpur, Tuibung, because I've hardly gone there. There all of us are like, okay, this is my motherland. Everyone chhati parke, we all go around, beating people up. Sometimes we are engaged into ethnic clashes amongst our own tribes. But when the war really struck us, did we realize that we were so minuscule? Nobody was there to even represent us. Had we had many advocates, had we had many lawyers in the Supreme Court level, we would not have faced so much of discrimination all the year round. When we talk about marginalized society also, I don't know how many of us would know that there is something called the Autonomous District Council. And it has been redundant, we just have it on paper. But because we don't know the law, because we don't know that the Constitution has given us protection, which is why all of us are like, it's okay. Let them do what they need to do. Let the politicians do what they need to do. We have that attitude, but we don't realize that you cannot let somebody else take decisions for you. So when you study law, it makes you realize that you as a citizen of India, there are so many rights that the Constitution gives us. You know, whenever we talk about rights, it's very funny, like even if I talk to the final years or even to the LLM level, talk about rights, the first thing they say is fundamental right. And in the Northeast crowd, whenever we go and interact, the first thing they say is 6th schedule, 5th schedule, right? So if I ask them, do you know what is 5th schedule, what is 6th schedule? It's not just knowing that this is this or this is that. Internally, we don't have that knowledge, which is why today we don't have the ADCs that are functioning. If we had the ADCs that were functioning, you know, the Meiteis would have never dared to come and make investments on our land. All this resort that we have, all the natural resources that we have, no, it is supposed to be ours. We are supposed to be taking decisions. We are supposed to be stakeholders whenever decisions are taken. But we never do that because we are very comfortable. Okay, we have our MLA, they'll do it. Let's be honest about it. And whatever we discuss here stays here, right? How effective have our MLAs brought development to our lands? And every time they come and they inaugurate a street, we are so happy. We start clapping hands and we, you know, punza kisilsak mo. Every time we are adoring them. For what? They're simply doing what they're supposed to do. Right? So if you study law, it gives you the knowledge to be able to question all these things. So during the crisis that we had, every time we interacted, sometimes with the SOO, sometimes with the politicians, sometimes with the MPs, every time one of the main questions that I would ask was, when the Constitution provides for ADCs, why is our ADC not functional? Why is the local governance, more governance at the local level, why is it not functional? That is because people are not aware. Half of the leaders that we have back home also are not even aware that under 5th schedule, these are the, you know, rights that we have. Under 6th schedule, if you're demanding for a 6th schedule, these are the rights we have. Suddenly we are talking about what? We want separate administration. So when I ask them, what is separate administration? What do you want? Then again, we don't get any reply because whatever we demand, it has to be constitutionally sound. We can't go beyond the Constitution. But when we talk about essay, everybody is saying essay. I was like, what is this Sasa? At first I was like, what are you all talking about? No? Then suddenly we give the example of Ladakh. But Ladakh is also in, you know, burning. He's my batchmate who is the COO right now. You know, so we can't really compare ourselves with them because our religion is also not the same, and religion is a very important factor. Our tribe, our, you know, lifestyle is also not the same. Now what did the central government do? Central government said, okay, here we are, we give you freedom. Ladakh, na, it has become a union territory. But it's been more than 5 years. Elections kabhi hua nahi hai. Right? But they're very near to the center. We are very far away. Right? So when we talk about all this essay, when we talk about, you know, there was a document that I had to vet also. The document went on, and I told him that this is what you're demanding as essay. I said, sorry, even if I'm just a professor, even I will not be granting you. It's impossible to be granted these. So, you know, when you study law, it not just gives you that awareness, it also helps you to figure out what is the path that we should take, right? So that it is within the contours of the Constitution, because that's a supreme law of the land. At the same time, your indigenous ethos are also maintained, right? So when you study law, you become a champion of social justice, you become a champion of the, you know, marginalized society. Be it your voice in the sense of maybe a discussion as this in forums or even as writing, you are aware. So awareness is definitely a power that you give yourself. And you know, law is something that touches upon every aspect of our life, every aspect. Today, why are we all assembled here? When you talk about KSO, is it a registered society? It is. It's under the Indian Registration, you know, the Cooperative Societies Act, or, you know, whatever act under which you have done that. So unless you have registered it, you don't have a locus standi, right? Why are we able to gather like this? Because we have the fundamental freedom under our Indian Constitution. So everything we do, I'm a professional. The two gentlemen sitting here, one is in sports perhaps, one is in the major, you know, in the army. Because the Constitution guarantees us the right to choose the profession of our choice. You get what I'm trying to say? So law is something that seeps into every aspect of our life. And which is why I really think that, you know, even if you decide to be a homemaker, which is a beautiful experience perhaps, you know, you should have that sense of awareness. You have Domestic Violence Act. You know, we have crossed that time when men could just slap a woman and get over with it. Right? And you have Consumer Protection Act. You go to buy something in MRP or it's above MRP. Here people don't sell anything to you above MRP because they're aware that it's called maximum retail price. But back home, is there anything under MRP? It's all above MRP. And when you tell them 75 rupees, it's written in the label, they take 100 rupees. I'm standing there, I said, you haven't returned me 15 rupees. No, and you know, they tell me, I said, huh? You know, and the next person, the next stop, he's saying, madam, aap mere se le lo, aap 80 rupees mein le lo. So as a consumer, if I have to pay extra, I'll pay 80 rupees. Why should I pay 100 rupees for something that's 75 rupees? It's also because, and then you know, you have people who say that, oh, he's a consumer club ka president. I said, kar kya rahe ho aap? That legal awareness, if the more we have, the more strong we're going to be as a society. And all these petty little fights that we have, I think that also will go away, because there's a big fight that is ahead of us. Then when we talk about studying of law, like I said, it's intellectually very, very stimulating. You know, in today's time, we are talking about, just this morning I was reading, you know, there is another bill that's going to be introduced in the parliament. Then you have the transgender bill. Our community, we are not accommodating of transgender people, of queer, because we say religion don't allow us. But we also have to understand that they're humans. So when you study law, it also, you know, stimulates you intellectually to be more understanding, to be more accepting of people. That, you know, we have to cross the boundaries of our tribe, of our community, of our gender preferences as well. Then we talk about financial rewards. We know, you know, in today's time, be it in UK, be it in London, be it in India, the highest paid professionals, two professionals are doctors and advocates. And more than doctors, you will see advocates. Because if I'm a doctor, you come to me, right, for an appendicitis operation, I can't charge you 5 lakhs for an appendix operation. But as an advocate, if you have heard of people like Kapil Sibbal or Harish Salve, one standing, if I was Kapil Sibbal, I would have charged you 15 lakhs to 20 lakhs. Even if it's for 2 minutes, it's a price tag. And you can't question it. And most of the dealings will be in cash. Right? And the income tax department cannot come and question an advocate कि आपने इतना, you know, fees क्यों मांगते हो? मर्जी मेरी. If you can come and pay, come. If you can't pay, then go to somebody else. Right? So when we talk, because it's important to be also financially sound. You don't have a shortcut to be successful or rich, but for people I've seen even amongst my friends who diligently pursue any career path, diligently for 5 years, they do get somewhere big in life, you know. And then we have, when you talk about prestige and identity, it's very simple. You are a person who's well known, money speaks. You know, so if I'm a person, if I demand 10 lakhs for one standing, obviously my social circle is going to be elite. And obviously I'll have a lot of followers, which is why I may be also a very good candidate to be a politician. If you look at most of the politicians, why do we kind of, you know, somewhere we look upon the Congress because their MPs are very elite. You know, be it Shashi Tharoor, be it Sigbal, be it XYZ, you know, they usually have degrees in law. Right? So what happens is, you know, but I'm sorry to bring this up. Like, you know, when you look at our community also, sometimes the people that we elect as representatives, they should even be aware of their duties, no? There is a certain amount of money that is given to them every year for welfare programs. But that is not being used because I think somewhere we only talk about rights and privileges and we forget about the fact that we have duties. So when we talk about studying law, it also helps you to become, to excel in what you can do. Even if I'm an author in today's political, you know, atmosphere, I have no freedom to say anything and everything I want. Just because I want to make my point across, I can't defame the person next to me because every right to your speech also is subject to reasonable restrictions. So law makes you aware of the reasonable restrictions. When you say something, you are careful. You are able to drive the message across, but without offending people. Right? Then we also talk about transferable skills. See, you have a degree in law, you can pursue any time or any kind of profession. We have had students who are doctors, they come to study law because in today's time there's something called, you know, bodily autonomy, privacy, and there's so many cases against the doctor that the doctor touched me here inappropriately. You know, so doctors also have to be careful. When you talk about company, when you talk about industries, every company or every government sector also has a legal team. When you talk about the army also, they have the Army Act, they have the army codes, right? So law is something that you cannot run away with. The more you run away from law, the more it's going to pull you back. And then we talk about, it's a very popular optional paper. I think all of us are quite, the young ones, I'm sure, you know, like a friend of mine says, in Delhi, if you look at the undergraduates and the graduates, no, 50%, that this is when in the mid-2000s when we were pursuing our LLB exams, LLB course, she would say, you know, Mercy, 50% are preparing for civil service, other 50 are working in BPOs. because that is also what we are, because for us there is no industry, so nothing like getting into the elite services, because that social respect is there. So if you look at it now, there is law has gained a lot of popularity, because you have had instances where a doctor who have never, a dentist who have never studied law suddenly clears and is in the top 20 studying law, because it is very objective, it is very to the point, the syllabus is very precise, very concise, and it's very easy to understand when you talk about in terms of theories. So it has become one of the most popular choices of subject. And as long as whether you are from science science or commerce or any background, law seem to be a very popular optional. That's why around 14 to 16% of the candidates, they choose law in the final exams. So which is also why it gives us another reason why it is not wrong to pursue law as a choice, as a subject. Yeah, we can go to the next. I'll make it quick. Yes, so whenever we are talking about law, how should we get a formal education in law, is there are some persons who come, they enroll themselves in law, and then they say, that ma'am, I have a problem speaking in public. How do I pursue the profession of law? But law is not always about talking. Agar yahan pe khali you still don't know what to speak, right? And some people who are very good at arguing in the courtrooms are very good at writing. So law, when you practice, there are two components very important: drafting and arguments. So generally people who are good at drafting are the ones who will never come and argue. So whether you are someone who is good at speaking or someone who's good at writing, because we are very good at writing. I've seen that we've got very good handwritings and we are very good at writings. But it's just that we are shy to speak up, because our society, we're very timid. So when you are studying law, you just analyze yourself, which branch would I want to. If you go to corporate, you don't have to stand and beat your head in the courtrooms. If you want to litigate, a lot of hard work, but it's very rewarding as well. Now when we talk about pursuing law, what are the entry points? There are two entry points. One after your class 12, and one is after your graduation. Like in Delhi University, we have two options. One is after your class 12, which was, I think now the second batch has just come in, or otherwise it is after your graduation. That means, like I did my graduation in, my graduation was in history honors, and I had psychology as well from Loreto College in Calcutta. After that, I came to pursue my, LLB in Delhi University. And for those of you who say that you would want to go right after class 12, you have NLUs, National Law Universities. In my time, like almost 15 years back, there was just three. One was NUJS, NLSIU Bangalore, and Nalsar, Hyderabad. But today, if you go to Assam also, you have law, university. You go to Meghalaya, you have it in Shillong. Then, Manipur also, it's supposed to come up. Every state is supposed to have NLUs, because the government of India feels that we need to make people aware of law, because legal literacy in India and financial literacy is zero. So people don't know their rights. And for the people whom these rights are made, since they're not aware, they're not able to exercise. And the law gets exploited. So when you talk about entry points after class 12 and after graduation. Now, what is the stream, or what is the branch of subject that you need to take? It's open to everyone. So even in class 12, if you had science, commerce, or arts, you are still allowed, you are still free to sit for the All India Entrance Exam called CLAT. And if you crack that, you get into the reputed national law universities. After graduation also, you're free, even if you're from MBBS, engineer, or commerce, science, So this is one branch of study where we don't limit to students who are from science or who are from, arts background. For instance, if you want to do MBBS, you have to take 12 science, 11 and 12, you have to take science. But if you talk about, LLB, it's okay. If you're not interested in science, go ahead with the subjects you want, and you can still be a very good advocate. All right. Then so after you get your degree, so after graduation, if you come to study your LLB, the course is for 3 years. After class 12, the course is for 5 years. Then you can go in to pursue your LLM. Now LLM is a master's in law. In Delhi University, since it's a central university, most of the central universities, we still go with the orthodox system, where LLM is for 2 years. At least in Delhi University, we have two categories again. 2 years is for those who are full-time LLM, and these are generally people who are preparing for judicial exams, or who want to avail the facility of the hostel. 3 years LLM, we have it for working people. So mostly the students are either already serving magistrates, IPS officers, or IAS officers who want to pursue LLM, so that, because they're very enterprising, they don't stop even if they get a job, so they keep doing it. So a friend of mine came, she got 75th rank in UPSC, she continued doing her LLM. Now she wants to enroll for her PhD because, from a very early age, they already have that post-retirement plan. And law is something that, the older you get, the better it is. The older the wine is, the tastier it is, right? So in the same way, with all their, exposure that they get, with all the communications, interactions that they have over time, they become very good advocates. So you have this LLB, 3 years and 5 years, 5 years after class 12, and then 3 years after your graduation, then you can go in for your LLM. Nowadays, law schools are providing LLM in 1 year also. So you can get your master's degree even in 1 year. It's a little hectic, but nonetheless, and it's through an all India entrance exam again. Then after that, once you get your degree, for those of you who want to practice or who wants to get into corporate sector, you need to sit for the bar enrollment exam. Perhaps now they have it in the exam. My time, if you were a first class, you didn't have to sit for it. So I never sat for it, so I really don't know what kind of exams they have, but this is the new requirement. But I suppose it would not be tough if you are good with your paper because it's just for an enrollment purpose. And then of course you have the options of sitting for judicial exams, which is a very popular choice in today's time. If I may just tell you my experience, when I was a fresh graduate, I had set for state judicial exams. I cracked the exams, but I never went for the interview because I was very clear that I can't spend or earn my livelihood listening to people fighting, but that was also because of my limited knowledge. But turns out that now things are, at one point in time, we never knew the codes. We didn't even know what FIR is, right? Because we never needed it because our society, pupa dan. No, that is very, very strong, right? Nobody wants to go to the court. Nobody wants to go to the police. Whatever happens, we try to settle it amongst ourselves. But what is the impact it has on our society is something that I'll also want to talk about in a while. So when we talk about judicial service in today's time, I think it's very, very important because whether we want or not, 3rd May made us realize that our customary practice and our customary laws is not enough for today's time. The society is evolving. We also need to evolve. It is not at all enough to protect us. Our customary law, was it adequate to protect us from getting arrested, from getting beaten up? All the FIRs that we have lodged today, it has been reduced to mere 300 FIRs, right? The compensation that we are supposed to get, the right to rehabilitation. Have our customary laws able to help us in that? The answer is no. So that's why it's important that we come out of our, cushion, out of our safe zone, and we have to start coming and being with what is going on in the world, because ultimately it penetrates into our lived realities, right? We can go to the next slide. I hope I'm not taking too much time. I'll wind it up very soon, all right? Then when we talk about careers path in law, like I said, the first choice is litigation. Then you have corporate law, judiciary, academics, like where I am, you can always come and teach. And in today's time, there's a lot of think tank. I don't know if you have heard of think tanks, where you have like India Foundation, where they come up with policy papers, they give suggestions to the politicians on the basis of which new laws are drafted, or sometimes they also give their feedbacks. So these policy think tanks are also very essential because they also become like a connecting link, like a conduit, with the academicians, with different civil society members, and also it's something that's really gaining momentum. Civil services, of course, if you have a degree in law, not just as an optional paper, but if you go to the bank also. I was myself a bank officer at one point in time, hated the job for whatever reasons, right? But you also have specialist officers. You can go and become a law officer in a bank. PSUs, they will always take law officers, right? If you have your LIC, or even if you talk about your labor commission, there is always a requirement of people with a degree of law. And then we also have NGOs. I think NGO is something I don't need to push much because in our community, multiple NGOs are there. But I don't know how effective are the NGOs as compared to Oxfam or the other NGOs that we hear about. But they can definitely, they are also doing good work. They can definitely be, an ambassador for change. And so it's just on us, right? What is the objective with which we set up or we join the NGO? In today's time, there's something called ADR. I don't know how many of us must have heard about this, which, it's an alternate dispute resolution, since most of the courts are also saying that, instead of coming to the courts, which is very time taking because the procedures of law is very, very time taking. It's not just about the victim, it is also about the accused, right? Which is why in today's time, we are really vouching in for ADR, which is very much present in our tribal society. And that's the beauty of our tribal society. Because see, if there is a couple, who wants to separate, who wants to divorce, right? The divorce is never granted to us by the church. It is by the insung mite. Now, like in Vaipe, we have the insung toy. In Paites, they have the insung dongta. You know, so whatever is done there, it is all within the ambit of what we call the ADR, alternate dispute resolution, where we mediate, where we negotiate, where we arbitrate. So arbitration is something, ADR is something that's really catching up. And for us tribals, because we are already born into the system, we are very well acquainted with it, and it's one of the most attractive, lucrative career options for law students in today's time. Yeah. Then we can go to the next. I think we are almost done with this. Yeah, so when we talk about this, is just a very, on the face of it comparative that I've just drawn, because a lot of students, I do get query ki, ma'am, shall we do 3 years course or shall we do 5 years course? I said it's really your choice. So generally what happens is when you pursue your law after 5 years, out of 120 students, which is the intake, 100 of them you will see goes for the corporate setting because they have placements, and because corporate law firms or law firms, they pay you very well. So the starting salary would be somewhere 1.2 starting. But please trust me, if the corporate firm is paying you 1.2 lakhs per month, they will ensure that your output is at least 3 times of 1.2. I hope you get what I'm trying to say, right? Because it's a job market and it's a very competitive market. So they go, they have to check in at 9 o'clock, but what time they'll come home, nobody can say, because it depends on the workload. So corporate, when you are young, it looks attractive because you get a good pay package. But in the long run, I also see a lot of my students, because I was teaching at NUJS for 4 years, I see that they also suffer from burnout. It's exhausting, right? But another advantage is that they do go take their master's degree from Harvard or from Pennsylvania or Stanford. They have that edge because, they're not first generation advocates. Most of them are children of bureaucrats or, third, fourth generation advocates. So they already know where they want to go, right? So, but when we talk about corporate, I'm not saying it's bad, but, then the subject that you touch will be a little limited as compared to litigation. When you talk about litigation, again, we have criminal law and civil law. So if I'm an advocate, a lot of people say law is all about criminal crimes. No, law is about everything under this planet Earth. You talk about marriage, you talk about succession, you talk about inheritance, you talk about consumer rights. All of these comes under your, civil laws. When you talk about crimes, you talk about money laundering, you talk about Food Safety Act, or you talk about your BNS, the IPC, erstwhile IPC, all this comes under the criminal, sector. So if you're an advocate, you can choose whether you want to be a divorce expert, whether you want to be a land dispute expert, whether you want to be a criminal law expert. So, the choices when you come to litigation, because we have more than 30,000 laws in India. So if you're in litigation, you have the choice to excel over these 30,000, right? So which is why it's important for you also to know that you always have a choice of litigation or corporate, and each of them is rewarding as per your ability to perform, because I think it's very performance based. Now we can go to the next. Another very popular choice of confusion is regarding academics and judiciary. Now the court in today's time have said that if anybody wants to join judiciary, you need to have 3 years of experience. I don't know if you're aware of that, right? When you talk about academics, you need to have a LLM, and nowadays PhD is a requirement. So if you have an LLM, if there's an opening, but today's time getting into academics is also a little tough as compared to when we got in, because now they're asking for publications as well. So I encourage students who are doing your masters, you should start writing, start getting your publications made, because the job market is becoming more narrow, right? And honestly, we don't have the kind of political backing that a lot of people have. So which is why you have to really begin your writing. Judiciary, again, once you get into judiciary, in 7 years you get your promotion. So it's quite interesting, right? So I will not go into the technicalities of this because I don't want people to start yawning. We can go on to the next, I think. Yeah, so I think this is something that we already discussed as well when we talk about the emerging job markets, because with a degree of law, you have multiple options, right? From all that we have discussed, just an extension of what I've already talked about. One thing that's really important in today's time is understanding human rights, because for us, our human rights have been violated, right, to a level that it is irreparable. So if you have a degree in law, you could start an NGO where you're talking about advocacy of human rights. I think that's also something that's very, very important. Yes, we can go to the next slide, I think. Yeah, so this is just a comparative career scoreboard. I'll be leaving the slides with the, your leaders here, so you can just have a look at all of this. So if you just have a comparative of, because sometimes the pay is also something that's very important. If I'm not going to get a good pay, why should I choose that career path, right? So this is just to help you understand that if you get into judiciary, this is what you can expect. If you get into litigation, this are the package that you can expect, right? Yeah, I think we will have the last slide. Okay, now I just feel that there are 4 things which I would want all of us to think about before we take up a part. Now, there's one thing that I've also seen over the years. A lot of people, not just a KSO or not just Amy Hona, like if you talk about the ST community as a whole, because we have an obsession with civil service, a lot of people enroll for LLB because they feel that another 3 years you get to decide where you want to go. But by the time you complete your 3 years, you're already 25, 26. At 21, people are getting jobs and going and making a difference. We at 25, we're still wondering what are we supposed to do, right? So it's so important to assess ourselves. Let's have a self-assessment. What is it that I want to do? Because no course, no skill is going to come and help you if you're not clear about what you want to do. So self-assessment, self-introspection, I think is very important to know my strength and my weakness. Then the next, I think, is what is important is academic excellence. Because in today's time, it's not just about, having a speciality, it's about super speciality. It's not just about having a degree, having a master's degree, but master's degree in political science. Which branch of political science? That is the world that we are going. It's becoming more specialized. So we need to ensure that, having a 50% is not enough because you're an ST, fair enough. But you don't know, even this ST, if they apply the creamy layer, which they have been trying to do, most of us sitting here will not be entitled for that. So let's forget about the fact that we have this, privilege of ST quota. And if we are in Delhi, right, we have to get over with that and we have to start excelling in our academy because we have very, very good brain. One of my classmates was a graduate from IIT, then IIM. He tells me, Mercy, आप लोगों का ना नॉर्थ लोगों का दिमाग फरारी जैसा है, फुर करके निकल जाता है. एक दिन एग्जाम से पहले आप लोग पढ़ाई करते हो तभी भी यू कैन गेट अ 55. हम लोग ना फेथ कार धीरे 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 पूरा साल हम पढ़ते तभी भी हमारा 60% आता. एंड दिस इज कमिंग फ्रॉम अ पर्सन हु इज एन ओनली चाइल्ड ऑफ 2 judges. Both his parents also only child, so no cousin, nothing. So all he did was study. And he said, Mercy, over the last 3 years, final year, he said, I need to tell you one thing. And this is what he tells me, and it's true. Our brains are so good for the right things, right? So we need to channelize our brains for the right things. For the wrong things also, people are channelizing their brains, right? Which is why we have so many problems. Yes, what are the practical skills that I have? Am I good at organizing things? That is also important. Event management, right? Am I good at talking to people? I could be an orator. So am I good working behind the desk, behind the scene? You could be behind the curtains. You could always be the director. Then I think what is also important is let us also expand into networking. It is very, very important to network. It's a world of networking. Like in Delhi, you must be knowing कि तुम्हें पता है मेरा बाप कौन है? What is the meaning of मेरा बाप कौन है? It's all about network. My father is this, which means my father has a good network. So we are very timid. We need to spread out. I see that even in institutions now that in Delhi we have the Northeast Cell, where I've been convening for the last 5 years. The whole purpose of Northeast Cell is not to take us out from the rest, but it is to push us, amongst everyone else, so that we let them know that we are also the same as you. Blood group to hamara wohi hai. AB plus aapka, AB plus mera. Do you get it? So it's all about amalgamation. So we need to break the barriers. And if people in Delhi are not able to break the barriers, nobody will be able to do that. And if you are going back home, please make sure that you learn Hindi. It's for your own good. Otherwise, what's the purpose of staying in Delhi? Right? So you need to network vertical, horizontal. You need to build contacts. You need to crush the barriers. All right? Then I think we can go to the last bit. Sorry, I'm taking very long. So I'll leave you with these 4 ideas or 4 thoughts, or for the wandering mind, if I can say. It's very important to be relevant, and to be relevant you need to be aware. Now these film stars are saying I want to be relevant. What is the meaning of being relevant? That means you have to be able to accommodate the changing scenario. If things are changing, you can't be here and say no, my family law is this, or a pupa dan. is this. You can't just say that because we are moving into a world of equality. Look at our traditional rights, customary rights, because I write a lot on customary rights. Woman, me, I don't have a right to property. Do you think it's fair? You think it's fair? There are people who say yes, but if you look at it from the point of equality, it is not. Because at that point in time, our grandparents did not give women the rights because it suited the society those days, right? Before we knew education. Now we all are so educated, and I think, in most of the tribal societies, girls are excelling than men. Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. We have taken up leadership roles also. We have MLAs today, right? And it'll be very soon we'll have MPs also. We may even have chief ministers. We may even have, chairpersons, right, in different organizations. So what I want to say is that if we want to keep up the customary ethos also, we need to bring it and make it relevant for our changing times. It needs to amend. When the central laws can also be amended, why not? I am not saying let's do away with the laws, but let's also make it relevant, because to stay alive, anything to be sustainable has to be suitable, right? Then when we talk about law, like I said, it's empowering. It will let you know the do's and don'ts. Then you can be a social engineer, because law is looked upon as a vehicle of change. You can always be that social engineer. If I may just draw your example to this law, which all of you may be knowing, called POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. Why did we have that law? It was because of an NGO, right? It was one lady was raped when she was performing the duties of the state in the state of Rajasthan. She was gang raped. And because of that gang rape incident, Vishaka versus state of Rajasthan, it's an NGO, right? And that is when they were able to bring a change. So today we have a law that protects every person against sexual harassment. Before that, we did not have anything. So you can understand where all this Me Too movement have started. And yes, and in the last bit, I would want to say that law is a lived reality. There was a time when the government said, you can't eat beef. There is a time in the government, you're cracking a joke, you're making people laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. He's making people laugh, he's arrested. Suddenly the law tells you can't marry a person of another community. So when we talk about law, it has really seeped into our lived realities, which is why I think, and I would encourage people, even if you are a designer, even if you are an entrepreneur, even if you are a police officer, have a degree of law. It's just going to enhance your quality of life, right? I think with that I will wind up. Thank you. I think I've taken a lot of time. Pleasure is all mine, and I'll be more than happy to take your queries. If not today, then through email or something, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much.
Thumanta is APU, Ma Mercy Tungin Kipathu is over. Next we have Next we have Lieutenant Colonel Chonjagin Lunkim, a distinguished officer in the Indian Army, an alumni of Sainik School in Fall. He cleared the UPSC NDA examination in 2007, joining the 128 NDA course and later the 138 IMA course. He was commissioned into the Indian Army in 2012. He currently serves as a Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Aviation course. Let's welcome Sir to stage with a big round of applause.
Check. Kita thấy nào mà? Anh thảo bắt được không? Ta cho quay usit jana salam. Ana they are to organize involve KSOD&NCR lam kai ho chu atu kon ko ni. Laya ke hung ke khople jane an sewa pana chu target audience ke confuse ke hi thim na Dominic ong ke hoben kai hung dham ke hello. Generic prepare bol le iti bol dham tyo confuse ke hi dan. Sainik school chapang hele chon army alut no meti ki he cho 90% tabung cho asai no cho munju sanong ki khabo class ja na panai ja cham ke thai lo kyam ko atia hi excuse kan same sa he I am not so well prepared. Ake pa ya pan na di wa ka head nom chuele just like to aka muda na chapang o hi anya wa pan ale chani umben just for the information of the room akat and you open a class that we have to me. Anyone from 7, 6, 7, 8, 9. You are class and 9. Okay, 9. 9 upon I graduate level and upon I am to class and Imachi masangin to ka sainong penchu hile. Like in kay point of view ka ha sang ana to army and armed forces are to be no iti motivate hede hum to I'll just try my bit. Adi also not only in armed forces as a moral lecturer you can say as a brother or no ilkho na ding thu thampal ka saiding. I hope from there you get motivated. Alhang pi army hilang air force hilang navy hilang hoi lai hong le no khang tile tu lai khanga ding ha chu internet ne so ke ve na mobile phone entry chu me la class jana apna ner lu theo hai electoral ki chaya hai graduation ki chaya kumi jana apna ja it is all in the open domain na internet ana bat le theo chi part chu lai sulut bong ka tin to just dang se chun hot personal ten in dong mila question session on this question answer session chi jo chun no holung dai pi alut num mo ho chun het no mo chin dong min chi chu ka answer de maybe just so that you get motivated or you may derive something from my life what I have gone through. I just speak about myself na chom chakhat kai ma thusim maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes ke ho chun ho tabong kan hi na chapang apna ho ke khanglen so ke hin adia ke thing hang apna hung khanglen ke hin te le thing hang chi ke sai khel mai the ke choi le naga galai pana chu naga gal ja chu phai ka hung jo no he education dinga chu kani apana ju ke hi naga galai chu ke ho naga gal ji ong chu hin tin army ho ki tol ji ka ta ko hai just like ROP ti na tu chuan het pandia no jam gal me he gal ja he army lingong hi ha het ta mi ROP yung ji khlan road opening party secure chu pa ko chi ja kong ki tol ju se be ke ma pana ka bat ji le ke thanom chu se pe ka hi no ke ne ho ha lai ta hi ja su ke ne ong ka pan nom kit na lai na ga le lai chu le ne ke ne ten chi bol tai ti bo ka lo ha to ki ho ji wa me thar ki se pho ko ne hat wa just mol bong ki chu ya ki kap to le ji na se ta bong chu lai chu kong fu yang chi ya chi ji ka chin training ti le chi in yo lai ki thanom. See, motivation can come from any place. No aim in life na chuka sai nu me nikha ka kho apna chu ban le hung leng na just small kind of helicopter to am live at cheetah 1960s vintage our Indian army tu changya fly ka bol lai chu cheetah ti pau yon ko ti pau kilo thum le ta I kho chung hai le ne chan ki mu ve tai wa nga chu in yo lai pana chu le ki ko in tin ban leng ne thin se ha pa ki peng peng ve ti mu chan ge ki mu ta lo o yong ki zel lai na ki ko lai chu ne thin se ha pi that's our ignorance level. So from that ignorance level, I just dreamt to become army officer. I just want to join army. I just want to fly one day. That's the beginning. That I kept that spark alive in myself. Luck would have it. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Okay, na naga galja su tu laita say ke le. Mongkot nehe so ke dio hai na litan ke tile. Thu boy laita e jason litan ko mongkot tu boy na pe ka pho he ong so from that place thu naga galai chon hal ha jo lo chi a chu lai pa na chu min duty bolong ki mu in hal ho chu kan mu ji na e wa but from that ke chu chapang ka hi ji was ke ho chu se chu phai a chu lekha sim de in tol ho in bhara ko munga my brother eldest brother he is no more हम class 5 हम 6 हम bo hai that's why I asked you he is the junior most class 9 ta na ko pa chu class 6 हम bo lai chu 5 stand corrected I'm an invest you ke ho chu ke chu nursery 2 ko nu class 3 maybe anyo tin school kai nai lo so that's how we bhara kan seng ba ki hon bun ki hon thu kan le ka pa chu langa na to ka le hu na ta chung ki bo so that's the point is I think you can draw the lesson if you really try hard if there is nothing stopping you me usin ha sat na ki to so ke na I'm not saying if you are from a well-to-do family success is not defined for you you have such success defined but if you are not well-to-do family still if you dream it and if you want to achieve it you can still achieve it na now te hokan sai num ni ta sung ki khangle na then I went to sainik school aka chia chu leke chu sainik school aka lut na chu chimasa sainik foundation me sainik foundation aka lut exam ka pass ta ka lut ta chao chu ke chu sainik school campus sa me chu sainik school a chu ke chu ilu legends army ki jeng de ke hi sa chu eta sainik foundation na chu hilo chu ke he ewa sainik school ang chu ka ba same campus e wanga chu helicopter training elo fighter training hoya ko bolam ta ka ba ji na ke mukhalo हम पाव कुल थे हुए तो साइंस स्कूल चु ए ते के हम पास कुल जस की मुथे लो कही सा साइंस स्कूल एग्जाम का बोला का लुट जो आहे कबत ले हम पा अब कुल ला जो चिले कुल जो खुल थो कितना इमाम लो then I realized कि लाइफ आर्मी का लुट नहीं I have to go next step after 12 to enter something then I चापना के हेत पने NDA को ना न लुट ngay हेतियो जो लाइफ वाले को लनी की होला चु हम पसे से की हो मामै तन सो ना तो थिंग सनाई जिंका एल हा that's how then I came to India luckily I first attempt kat kalut to na Japan achu then India kaluna now that's how my journey started India pana then 3 years IMA again something so if you are really interested ask me the question specific question and just before I go ahead in next India kaluna SSB incident kat saying no koma just to draw some lesson final SSB kuninga first day screening aku 90% kind of your best both saying we are around 97 more than 50% who first they go screen out his na then from my batch only 2 of us got selected ke choke panna chu air force kan op kha air force apply air force ading ke boge ki select kaloi kha chu medical reject hija chu army achi ta tu ek he ani la but in the final interview aku beta ido chu tu ka hal lo le ipina bol lam te do na e chu reject nahi la chun pina bol lam te do interview achu ka reply achu tu ni dal do do na chu gong tho tho I still have to attempt then they replied me attempt ni achu na mulo le pina na mulo pina bol lam te ki na hope I will do graduation ki chang there's still opportunity I'll still come to a CDS entry na gong tho tho de cha chu na mulo le ti ki no chu na mulo still I have still TS entry maybe US entry university entry scheme na katha bol tho tho de na mulo le ti le army a gong tho tho ding maybe sipe a ka lu ding banga chu exam ka pi ding na SSC entry gong tho tho de that's how I was committed so maybe sipai tu ai kelele ole ola ki la tho tho din la tho de la mai the na maybe that's why but why you should join armed forces maybe it is not just like army tile army yeng lo air force tile air force yeng lo na navy te navy yeng lo so I brass dim serum beta just like you hang lo om na madam nan sai ta bunga chu ki hang chu engineer so om you get higher education you can pursue higher education ki hol aviation om ta na if I retire I can fly outside the skill in a to yo skill ngai chu thilu si he just khanto na progressive growth chu ngai chu future ading a chu tu asu ke kat pole chun just I have to appear one exam CSPL ki commercial helicopter pilot tu ilanga civil lengo I have to just join it India ading achu helicopter training jong umbe lo civil achu armed forces apna apu resource ki laya ki hobo ka le lo civil so everything you should not aim in life ki qualification just not army specific maybe engineer lang hai specific le waleng le num hai all maybe just like if pure soldier te para lang lut nu hamti you should be very specific in what you want to be that's why no hokoma ka sai nu na lu let's now in jo palachin kuna question session ma chung jaw lo dham sei pontin say ki have pontin just to cut short just before closing I just want to maybe remind or brought it up to you apachomna thamkhat maybe 1 minute I can say na army apachomna ka sai le chun maybe any other profession that doesn't make you fit army achu nang chuna fit na ding achu sipai okon rules regulation kon nung dal le morning PT na bolso ni ha le games ki chips na ladak la lia ka posting achu ki chim thailo because of the climate and high altitude a hija chu ai ti achu hung ki thau do on le chun medically unfit bol di jewa chu ke ho chu phat pi ke no na fit te 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 bol chu tu lai ta hai to ai jun le ka pat dia I have to reduce weight again so it is a profession where it try to make you fit plus take care of you educate if you go early you are very well settled in life after 12 you are more independent monetary independent nahi ta na thought process you deal with lots of people in army call why me themselves that deal pidi ja your thought process become more burden mi ne het thelcho mi ki ha het lechun mi ti ki dil phiam ki thiam na mi dang ho to mi chon dan khan dan ki he chu ho society a pha phalo thon ki compare the si chu draw relation ki bolte eloi le payang chu le army a chu le maybe you are more secure financially otherwise medically you're dependent nanu le pa hi lang hoi la hi medical facilities ju nang ki secure jo I ho chu hang pia chu le maybe we are the first generation to ai phai ahung ki cheng tela ahung khan to he I pui pa te chu thing hang mi ngan change yo chu na we have a very role I one role hi le ta khan ne chu nau te hone ki til kho na diu chu I ho role chu pem tel inu le pas te sang wa chu mon step khan lo ta chu inu pu pa te chu le pathen on ho lo do en ho na gol no man ma tho inu le pa te khang wa chu pathen an head wa chu I ho le khan sim sa pano ki ho generation de tal ni ki ho generation chu to I just thamkhat na to thamkhat ka nei pano ta chu so we try to be better than our parents generation now you guys should be trying your aim should be trying to go one step ahead of us to try to be better than us maybe the job profile you guys say the army will sa ta sulun ti mai theuna not in terms of the profession in terms of quantity maybe ki ho chu mi nga ka lu no chu mi so mi ben lu nga ju tu every profession that's how we'll grow because the profession to akin so ke ta the profession ai the next step for you to grow is next sa chu quantity so that nam pi boy na le chu ki thokhom thaina dinga that's how you have to motivate yourself the only thing who can motivate yourself is you that's why I want all you to have a clear aim ipi ne hinu mam chun nang bo koi man na zo lap thailo bu chun nang le nang na ki zo na ki maybe sorry my mistake mi na zo lap thaya nang le nang na ki zo lap thailo cho na ipi ne hinu mam maybe any profession be true to yourself mi phalo in jong mi pha ngai chat na mi pha jong mi pha ki ngai cha chu na ai ta chu phate te just try to be disciplined in your student life morally be good nanu le pa thu hian lang ipi hian lang adi chu ne het so ke adi apa chu bol bil lang apa chu society yo sin ke dai mi phalo jong pha ke dai mi pha jong mi pha ke dai pha pau pau lai chun na future ro chu secure he ka sai no me ke chaina chu na kan sai chop dan because I am not so prepared I don't want to bore you with this maybe verbal something so I am looking forward to look forward to hichule no apna who are really interested and who want to know it even from girls and boys there's a lot of good profession in armed forces you can ask me in question session answers I won't take much more time thank you pe
Thugil Tai Sepiu, Lieutenant Colonel Sir Chonjagin Lunkim Zungin ke pathui se ube. Tun abanin, next we have Mr. Dominic Sominthang Haokip. He completed his BA in Political Science from Kirori Mal College, batch of 2019, and went on to pursue his Masters in Liberal Arts from Ashoka University. He cleared the UPC Civil Services Examination 2024, securing an impressive All India rank 994. Currently, he serves as Assistant DGFT in the Indian Trade Service. Please welcome Mr. Dominic with a big round of applause.
Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most important and powerful tool which you can use to change the society. Today, if there are one of the many reasons why I'm able to stand here today, proud as a civil servant, is only because of education. It's because my parents, they believe in the power and they vision that education is one thing that on one hand can pull us out from the shackles of and the cycles of poverty, but also on the other hand empower us as a human being. So today I also thank the KSO for organizing these kind of career counseling events, and also a deep respect and to all the other resource person. I'm very glad to have heard from Dr. Mercy and Sargint, and later from the other resource person as well. Kay matan jing niao khat hin sai beleng na kamin lung chu hin sai bangin Dominic Sominthang Haokip ahiin in lang lamka tuibong district headquarter a pin ka hiin team zil na hi St. Mary High School tuibonga ka hin panin class 5 san kasimin class 6 sapat 12 san hi Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya tuinom Surichampura kasimin 12 kachayin graduation hi simding in ahin saitain KMC ako hongin political science in 2019 in kachayin. After that, before I did my masters, I was also part of the Young India Fellowship program of Ashoka University, which is like a postgraduate 1-year diploma in liberal studies, post which I took an extension and I completed my master's in 2021. And civil service examination was 2023, but the result was declared on 2024. So I am Indian Trade Service batch of 2024. So that's just a little bit clarification. Civil service to ipi hesu keta venna Dr. Marcin zong hin say tai na it's something that is being ingrained in our brains, in our minds, in which each and every cell of since we were young. Sija so hong ki khom haun zo si civil service to ipi hesu ke diu ta na aku tia hile do we know how many people appear for the exam, right? So we know what civil service is. Do we know how many people appear for the exam? Yeah, somebody said lakhs. It's true. Prelims here 10 lakhs sabing application files here na, but out of that only 5 or 6 lakhs gave the exam. So prelims ko lak nga lak guming kipiya hiyan. Silaila who how many do you think clear the prelims and sit for the mains exam? Okay, so that's like 10,000. So around 9,000, 10,000 sits for the mains exam. And out of that 9,000, 10,000, 3,000 clear the mains and appear for the personality test or the interview. And out of 3,000, finally you have the 1,000 who are being declared merit and qualified to be appointed to different services. Today, my point here is not to say that only 1,000 out of 5 lakhs clear the exam. What do you think? Like hitabang exam ki gut na dinga na hitabang exam lol hin na dinga hi kisim ipi hidem. Mi lak ngai lekha sim ipi ha hi lawa le mi sangkat apa so in ipi lekha kisim ham civil service ada ki prepare tinga le. What do you think? Right. Ji civil service exam ana ki prepare tinga le thildang hilawin tin high school to higher secondary ya kinung chi cho. When after my master's, I already have a master's in liberal studies, but when I have to prepare for civil service examination in 2022, I have to buy NCRT class 9, 10, 11, 12 books. That's it. Especially like subjects like geography, I read 11 and 12, that's it. Even in history, I read only NCRT, that's it. No other subjects, including like art and culture. And then there are also other subjects, right? Where they say mathematics. In UPSC prelims, we have CSAT, which comprises of English, maths, and reasoning ability. CSAT here. That's because mostly high school in maths here. That's the only reason. Maths kasi nga his maths in ban zom paper leng. Masters ka zo in civil service exam ke prepare din ko hong gong hai. Maths subject hi CSAT previous year question hi kalayan na. I solved within 2 hours. And then I was in CSAT, the cutoff is around 66 marks out of 200. So at that time, without going back, I was able to get around like 70, 80, which means I cleared the exam without any preparation for maths. And then that was back in 2022. In 2025, when I attempted some previous year questions again, due to multiple revision, every year I was able to attempt, out of 80 questions in CSAT, I was able to attempt 75 questions easily. That too within 2 hours. That's chizu kumchenga ka ziyong so hinay na, but abu pinaka sa inum so azwa foundation so kadi na hichi math zong hi atam zo hi, it's not higher graduation level, it's all high school level. CBSE kai yung diwin CBSE bo sa permutation and combination ho class 11 na kasi mahin na hichi subject bo sa ko niyaw khat azawin, but sa telo ko atam zo ho basic level ngan sa ngahin. And in high school, I was very grateful enough that I did well in maths. I mean, if I'm going to, sorry to say this, but in 12 standard, 11 to 12, I humanities kalahin na. Humanities with mathematics and maths kanulung lut dan so class 12 so board exam so 95 kamoy na. So because of that, for me, it wasn't that difficult to write, prelims, especially that like the CSAT part. Not only that, other rest of the subjects as well. When it comes to geography, history, and other subjects as well, high school I was grateful enough. I was sort of say blessed enough to have invested my time in my studies. Because of that, after my master's, when I started preparing for civil service examination, thankfully, it doesn't take me a lot of years to master up these basic concepts and these basic schools. So that's it. And it's not only civil service examination, right? When we give for people who will be appearing for a lot of competitive examinations, it applies as well. Be it the staff selection commission or like the banking exams. That's how just important your class 9, 10, 11, 12, these subjects, that's how important it is. In order to clear the exam, which have been ingrained in us, which is considered to be one of the toughest exam in the world, which enables you to become an IAS officer, IPS officer, IFS officer, you have to go back to studying subjects from your 9, 10, 11, 12. That's just how important it is. I don't know how to simplify it further, to say that the subjects you are reading now are the most basic and the most important. That's the first thing that I would like to say. Civil service examination preparation to a curious num holding in insane cutting na civil service examination he as well as saying in wapa na so in quotation ilung thima so say jing hetai civil service boles on phade in kutie bawelo na be it a parent teachers yan lang loile pai ho yan lang senior ho yong le civil service mi zo sen isases jing hetai ai wanga ke civil service is always something always at the back of my mind, but which I pursued only after my master's, and there's a reason for it. The thing is, high school, higher secondary graduation, do you guys know your aim? Like, what is your aim in life? Like as Sergin has said, some of you might want to pursue totally unrelated to us, something medical, right? It's very much possible. So, to be honest, having an aim is very important because that's what drives you and pushes you. And I will say this further, but one thing that I would like to mention is that when you are young, it's also okay not to be very, very definite about what you want to do in life. But it comes with a precaution. Okay, I'm going to say this. It's very important that you do well where you are. Na stay sana ball class 9, 10, 11, 12 yan lang nanileka simnaw na stay sa na ball hoy di usok very poi mo yan na kay zong hikaniwa but aim in life kikiazing kahin. Forget aim in life. When I was in around 8, 9 standard, I really want to pursue science. As it's so fascinating kana sa so class 11, 12 for maths, physics, biology ho textbook at kavet zitingal kathanum zi so. But somehow class 10 kids, and in 10 standard I also did very well. During that time it was during grade basis, so I got 10 grade out of 10. But still in my 11th standard I chose humanities with mathematics. And then when I was in 11 and 12 standard, my aim was clear that after 12 standard I will take admission in St. Stephen's College in economics. That was my aim. And that's the reason why I took maths in 11 and 12 standard. Because in DU, maths is very important, right? For economics as well. And in class 12, I did well in economics and maths. I've told you in maths I scored 95, and in economics I scored 96. And I even went for St. Stephen's interview, economics, and I even got in. Not only I got admission, I also got hostel. As it's a hostel, munading ako person 6 hangzat ngaikit yana. But somehow life has taken a different turn and I choose political science in Kirorimal College over economics in St. Stephen's. And of course, one of the reasons was my willingness to pursue civil services, and perhaps I would say sometimes na ahilo lam song na himay na mi kanin civil service hading also economics ay base lo may the political science la letson ano hoy he ang NATP kana. So somehow that might have also influenced me. This is also political science kanala ka hin na. So when master's kahinsay tayin, master kahinsay in lang I did my preparation from home. After 2020, I completed my master's in 21. In 22 January, I went back home. I studied in Excellent Library, which is in Tuibong. So I did almost all of my basic preparation from home, except because of the conflict, 2023 conflict, I have to come out of Manipur. And also that there is no main center in Manipur. The nearest one is Guwahati, so we don't have a choice anyway. civil service examination, I don't know how you guys will think, because when we look at toppers, it also felt like they're what it felt like that, and to an extent it's also true. But at the same time, I think we also have to remember that some things are perhaps could be exaggerated. For example, civil service exam, I don't think a lot of people realistically studied 16 hours a day. I think that's maybe a few people did, or maybe people did say 1 month before the exam, but you don't really study 16 hours the whole year. So civil service examination can prepare. I think when the exam is very far, say like next year, I study hardly 8 to 10 hours a day. But that's continuous, 8 to 10 hours. And we all know 8 to 10 hours is nothing, right? When you start preparing for not only civil services, but any examination, 8 to 10 hours is very, very important. Be it SSC, banking, or even NEET, or engineering, or NDA, or even legal aspects. Everywhere, 8 to 10 hours is nothing. The reason why I'm saying is that civil service sometimes there is mental block in a lot of us. I might not be able to give that required amount. But there's nothing like that. The toppers did something, they few things which they did extra, but largely, there's at the end, people who clear civil service, even all in their rank 1, 2, 3, they're also human like us. They put in the effort, they are being consistent, they have the motivation, they study regularly, and they did their revision, and that's what led them to success. That's what I want to say. Civil service examination, few things that I would also like to say again is that in civil service examination, we have optional papers, right? Some people have advised me that political science is perhaps a bit better than economics. And I continue to pursue it. Optional subjects also political science and international relations. But in civil service examination, every type of, the beauty of civil service examination is that it can be written by a graduate from any course, like Dr. Marcias mentioned, like legal, law. A lot of the toppers are from law. And then I myself am political science. My sister, my sister who is also a civil servant, she has done her engineering in chemical engineering, and post which she did her UPSC optional in geography. Upon the 2023 civil service examination cleared through adang head khaleo IS mo P Carolina. She has done her graduation in commerce, and she has her optional in commerce. And if I'm not mistaken, that same year, Madam Haokip, who is in revenue service, I think her optional is English literature or sociology, either of them. So civil service examination is one subject in which you can be done from every field, and each and every field has equal importance and importance political science what's very important that you excel in what you studied. You excel in whatever you do. If you're studying, in the year 2023, all India rank 1, his optional was electrical engineering. And he scored 300 above, which is very, very great. So that's it. Do not pursue particular subject because you are interested in civil services, but pursue your particular subject because you are interested in that subject. And that subject will help you, be it any discipline. There's also saying, right, humanities, civil service with humanities, there's nothing like that. Kasi mga kay kauzong, he's a science graduate na. Plus, so civil service examination, UPSC no yaku civil service examination to forest exam moment na. Forest examination ko humanities on kipit hello hin na. I am an arts graduate from 11 and 12, and then in B I have my Bachelor of Arts, so I couldn't give the forest exam. Even though I was qualified to give the mains in 2023 because I scored enough marks in the prelims. But my sister, since she is an engineer, she was able to give the forest exam, and she cleared the forest exam. Today, she is in Indian Forest Service, posted in Mizoram. So these are the few technicalities which I would just like to say, which are not much importance. What's important is you have interest in that subject, and you are able to put effort in that subject. I think that's very important. This crowd, I don't think a lot of us are preparing for civil service examination actively, right? So if you are someone who are still studying high school, higher secondary, or graduation, few more things which I would like to say is that if there is any two skills that helps in civil service examination, I think it will be reading and writing, which is very important, not just civil services, right? Dr. Marcy also just mentioned, having speaking skills, having writing skills, these are very important, which can take you in very high in the long run. And reading and writing, why? As it's reading and teaching a civil service examination, it's being said, right? Syllabus ko ipiham civil service examination, and there's nothing. It's like everything under the sun can be asked, right? When you have developed a habit of reading, when you are able to or newspaper analyze and understand, it will really help you in your civil service examination preparation, right? And not only that, I think even in the line of academics, right? When you are doing PhD, during my master's, I was doing I was doing thesis project on the ADC, which Dr. Marcy just mentioned. Actually, I was doing my thesis on ADC. We have to do a lot of literature reading. I was so fed up because I wasn't that much into academic reading. So had I perhaps developed the habit of reading, especially like novel, reading can be anything, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be all very academic. It can be your novels, it can be anything. Similar with writing. As it's writing and teaching, civil service mains who writing where you have to jot down. It's not just about your idea. You have to be able to present your idea in the form of written words. As it's writing the one who's gonna check your exam, they are not gonna judge you based on how much you know if you are not able to present that in your writing. Writing and present knowledge writing always help. And again, when we say writing, it's not necessarily academic or literature writing. It can be journal writing, everyday writing. It's about expression. You have to be able to express your words, your thoughts, beautifully in the form of written. That's the one thing. So my sort of like a suggestion to people who are still studying and not actively preparing for the examination, if there are two skills that's help in civil service or any other future life, I think that's developing the habit of reading and writing. There's also few things I think which is very important to mention, that each generation we have our own challenges. They have done their studying and all their education from home. When your mom and dad try to encourage you, they might say a few things like, oh, during our days there was no electricity, or like there was no school. They will say something like that, right? Now you guys have all the electricity, all the schools, you guys are very lucky. But the thing is, those doesn't really encourage us, right? Because it's not a challenge for us. We grow up with it. My point here is that motivation light school education that was a challenge in their own time. So what is our challenge, like with the Gen Zs, with the current digital age? For me, civil service can prepare. So my biggest challenge was social media, frankly speaking, because I'm an addict. Instagram, Facebook, everything, Twitter, everything addict. So, but the thing is, and the second thing for me challenge was social interaction. Like I think I have too many friends at the point of time. So for me, I started figuring out, as well as Dr. Marcy self-assessment also every year in life, wherever you are in life, you self-assess on your own and you try to think, what is your challenges for you? Challenge drugs hopefully I don't think drug manage will be a problem for the kids in Delhi, but there will be other few challenges, right? Ken song ke hello may the so na holding a challenge sipam na heka simna wale khununga na aim in life na journey adinga na hin su tang thei challenge pi mo ti hin no na ki het jing diu na chu chu ka dei sa in na. For the last but not the least, I would like to say is that for everyone present here, not just the students, is that at the end we all have one life. I think it's very important that we find happiness, we find joy in wherever we do. I'm very grateful that even during my civil service preparation, I maintain a very limited circle, yet I try to derive my happiness from them. Whenever I was saturated with my study, I just call up my friends and we used to go roam around, you know, do you guys know Hope Cafe, like in Gelzang back home? You guys must have heard, right? So every Sunday evening, we would just take our bikes, we would just take our scooty and we would just ride down to just relax ourselves. But the important thing here is that what's important is relax pasu. It is very important that tomorrow at 7 a.m. you have to reach back to your library. So that's very important, right? But at the end, it's very important to find little joy, right? That joy can come from your family, from your friends, or at the end it can also be today from YouTube, right? For people who love media, singing, dancing, this can also be a form of joy. So wherever you are, wherever we pursue, I think let's always remember that. I will just conclude with that. If there is anything else, say valum laking ay damuhitin na mabana. If there is any question and answer, I will be happy to take up. Thank you.
Please put a round of applause for Ma'am Roslyn.
Ini power kahung say dehin, aki kaalala ci English power hung zau zi dehin ne he themo bilang. Amasa pena ho iti aki khom na to say kabol khalo di tu ngahin first pen dehin. But I'll try my best. Okay. Masa penten case o ho chunga ki patukan sayin. Because iti tabang organization sunga ho student ho adinga career counseling ki hi ki ho khang dile ami pe hi tawin ki ho chu kana nei po win na. So we do not have that kind of guidance no ho tabang twa chapang ho adinga hung ki sim thia nan bolu ku student organization nahin set up je win masa penin no ho chunga lamkai ho se chunga ki patu kan sen kamin chen he so ke tawin. I'm Roslyn Khongsai ka pin pe na kamin ai ki sa chu ting ning Khongsai hin tu to ahi ke hi brand khat ka ki se ma chu ka boi pi hi tan tu nia chlaya ni hin ko wa tu sei dinga hin ko wa chu ka za chu en ke chu because hiti tabang mi mila ading do atu say kabol kha be lo hi za chu interview ho myong lai, and like it's just the interviewer and me mila ai ta kadin kha lo hin. This is my first time ever za chu kain se ke long tim set hum din nei ngai da mo sa win lang. Okay, ai le in ko lo pe no chile chlaya panel atile dang ako ho si chu event na le kha hasima simngen tidak hingga ke say dinga chuna chongen hin. But when you talk about fashion design or fashion industry ong kititing le mo aga bol may ay lo le ke say dam adang si se bol zo so ke ya ai thele pha na ga chi na agela hi tam ta umin na mi ho he. So chilang fashion industry sunga lu na dinga yong ju equally bangkati nom point, but yes lekha lang yung chu effort a umma main. But yes to amon civil service bolding ho hello le line dang industry dang ho adinga preparation ke bold to fashion industry alu na dinga preparation chu neu khat azat chum devin. So today I will speak a little bit about that. Personally ipiti kong lai lu na ipiti le ji kana choose ka ham thong chu neu khat kan say dihin. So I'm expecting that to ho laya ho la hi chapang tam ta hi tu chan gi hi clear lo lai tile iti profession hi ka ya iti sunmu na the ka hol de ham ti ki he chen lo lai yung mai the hin. So ke class isola nga iso people Dominic and says up le ka hong king khang la win na, because I am also once a student of JNV, but from Mao. but jisu ke hin class 6 7 8 ge bogana simin wang sit pi in class 8 kasim laya chu ho naga kuki gal ano gal chet hi pon boina hum pha na chu because kum ke kasim pan lai in class 8 hi amy si chu hum pui do kha wa cha pana chu kana dal ha jane ni chu ka zui pai pai thei de lo then imfala kanu le ka pa ho chu school chom khana admit hin bolwa tia chu I think class 12 to Manipur Public School apana khong passed out na then after that chang jage he class 12 kasim laya he medical line ka thanu ja chu tuition ho coaching ho chu thano ta kan bol jing hen ai wanga chu ke ding ane ka sem lo chu hi inten ga na bonu ba encouragement dana kan say di hin compartment aka pass hai ke chu because I fail in chemistry so chemistry ka field partner chong so only 1 mark deficit ai let's go field partner so obviously medical line chu ke ding a flop hitan cha chu compartment awang chu luckily ka through pai pain then ai let's line chu lahi thelo du partner chu what do I do now position kha chu home partner chu DM college English adinga ka ki enroll in then college kum kha long ka sim chai lo lai I think in between hi newspaper hi advertisement kha hum kamu hen so in that NIF adinga admission ke hongpe because NIF usually give out admission during this time October November December chobe len hum ko ji ne le ke chun kana mu kha and it was like a small ad you know kho le ke dinga cho ki sim kha ani hi za chu chulai ta cho kamu kha wa hi mai thena because no mi zo si chu newspaper cho a page by page ki be lo hin na ki khanga cho headline sim le aha ta pi na hi zin so ka chi chu kamu pha na chu kanu ko ma hi ka thanuk chu ka express in can I try it ka tila a prospectus ho ko na ding se sa sum lu ha cha ve le nga cha be lo ko noi wang chun ai bo sa phot nin demand draft sim ngai because tu khanga ta banga internet na fat ta itiha fill ga ki bola ga ki register yeng thei hi pon so fill up ki bol fill up do chu demand draft amount ase chat chu ke sim ding post la ki thot ki bol hen ai le cho chu kan bol hong sao ze mai thi ne the la so ka tha do han zo wa hi admission entrance all India level entrance to IIT lo le pi hot bang exam the bang hi NIF adinga yong hi all India level exam ji hin so for that to admit ka hongin entrance adinga chu shortlist ki bol dai na chu na hong pha na chu kada ka chama Delhi khong pha hin exam bol dinga ka hongin and now the thing is fashion line adinga ke ai chu first generation zo langa Gogou and say banga chu ke ho line amy society la adinga chu fashion industry alut mi ho chu ki he to khalo omyong lo chun ka he khalo and adinga chu fully blind shot ki ball hin kaung thun le ka ute khanin ai le ipp na program de le I was totally blind you know ipi chu ka sima ipi chu ka ball thema ka ki he be lo hin ai le ka ute khat chun let's go to NIF I think they have all this aina CPR so we went there question bank ano min tu like hanga chu no you can just internet na I mean naga sun da hong leng tha za de mi zo sin sim din ka na ki be jing the hin ji ke ho khanga chu internet hong chu only few privileged people have computer I know le cyber ke fa ga to ding access ga bol ding ngai de hin he mo dan dan chi no chang akipat na to ki chai no imsa ki hello jing hin NIF ka chi honin ko ute khat chun ai le question bank to like previous year lo le previous year question ho hi ta hi ano umin cho chu ki cho I think one whole week ka ki grill hai ipt ado thei ipp thei di tho chu and obviously class 10 to 12 ki ka ale khanen sim hong chu neu khat it did come handy ai le chi exam ka ko bola chu ipi sei dham after the class 10 and 12 exam ki to pa tai lo che exam first time hi te ami la exam bola ka chi cho ke dinga cho ama sa pen ta bang hui ki za chu nervous ka chi da nan che wa nga chu the moment question paper hong ki pa kan sut pan le kalunga chu achang changa hong ki leng do be jeng ka sut ding ho ipi ho chu na ai le chu ka bol cha ya exam hong ki chai entrance result hong po na hi kana pass tan wang phat pin ai le e ho manipura chi pet ta hi postal strike me interview hong na dinga hi interview at dinga in ko na dingo date chula kileta but then postal strike ja chu ki lekha chu kamu talo so a date akilet pha na chu I call up the registrar nif a registrar pa phone ko bolle avet nule alisa chu ho to merit ST SC ho category o mai hin general category o men ale kamina cha vet nule ke chu wang phat ya chu chung langa kanom pha na chu ai ignore thei talo win so apet pe na chu itina hung thei dhamin tin ho the society sunga chu he jing o hin pet na chu flight hong chu only I think Monday or Thursday le bo chi ji direct flight ho chu so accordingly ke chung ta ki calculate nin sir I can be there in a week's time ka ti thoin I le kanoi somehow train ticket ho an arrange in mi quota a ka chi he na because normal aki bol dan de ana ki chele chun kalhun zolo mai the hapta sunga chu so lampi hum be be in ai le kong lungin interview ka tawin ai le kong pass tan kapa na mas pena sei chu na thanom na hi le ha jong le I manage go de ti chu hi en na so that's I think the starting point where I realized that if you have the will there's always a way ti pa chu adi ngomong ki ten silaya chapang tam ta hola ayong hi tu chang ya na lunggelu wa chikabol de ta na ki gel ha wa ai wa nga khat be hong boya hile determine hil nahi na te te ding tele hadai lo wa na lunggel pa o tele na bol num pa o chu line chu na chi na te te dinga APP thei de ham chu na nga jing nga yu he and fashion ta ki ho fashion industry akalut zo wa pa na chu ga sei dinga chu khat le highlight khai ga boleng e ho thinghang not even exactly thinghang also but in falsunga hongi seilen ki in English hong chu school chu we don't interact so much tulai chapang ho chu nawang phat dan chu you have YouTube you have everything mila na ho na pau no meong le you're already like equipped enough but e khanga chu school chu English broken English neo khat ki hemai mai Hindi yong chu mi to IPSC ham ki hemai mai as ting le in iga sei got phat nyo chun aki ki sei do the mai mai ti akan anaki hin somehow Delhi khungta Delhi ki kai pan ta ale college chu at times you have to do presentations and all so ting le chun ke chu ka ki thin li de ji he na because mila English presentation involving so by heart na lekha hin ki sim tabang hi za chun mama in ai wanga to somehow aki manage in I think first semester to keding ajo challenge ni mama in but third fourth fifth sixth to I think patin lung se na azai ze home men lampi pi hong ki semen I completed my fashion design ti ko ka sai no pen dang hipon tu to ahi tu boy za le ila wayong chu chapang khathem khat chu an umai the he I ma cha khu he lo wala hong ki mo to lu jeng but now they have to choose what they have to do like ikhom masang wa ipi ham ipi ka bol ditam te a question ma nga lekha chula sim ngai te te ain ko te nang push bol bol den na lekha sim ki bedin ta sei sei den e wa nga cha ma chu clueless ding hoila ipi ka bol dan ta hello so mai the hin kahin sei nom pen chu every field is important not only se target di bola ilung discourage hi sanga chu we should be open abdolanga so about Dominic and Satan we should be open for all the different lines yam tia chilai na boya nahi thelo hi ahle second option ipi ham backup plan nei te ngai mi him hina achuna chilaya hi thelo le second a chu chika bolding but in the end what do we have to think most importantly self independence is very very important na because lekha ha simin lang na bol num ta khanang bol do en lang but anunga benefit sum nasim do ozol lawa nehin ko independent nehin do ozol lawa le chun it's going to be very difficult because tu khanga hi sum inaya hi la chun power hi na in a way eho any society sunga hi aboy hi ipham tile kin kamudan khan sei de na it's not like I'm judging but social eho hi social ngai lu hi even zadang ho to ke kaloi pa kolahi na. So I have seen both side. Eho inew laya pa na chu Sunday school very important eho dinga chu. Yes, it is very important. Every Sunday must here. Chu na kai te ngai. Then function kharuma le community living in a his ahin boy na khadum le mizo chi te ngai. Yes, it's very important, but mi khatun balance ball ji athep lo phating le you deviate actually. Sia chu ho ta banga ko na chu balance ball na theding wa chu as a person chapang cha cha honong to hi they have list, you know, to do list akine he ga saving aju mi hohen chika ball ta wana line akine dan e hon chu i phau hitam na chi level to, because as a society church ikai ve church ayong chu itupi say ho winyong atu say to lifestyle ho to kito de edu low level ni umla la hin na because I'm to say sit na and again hin lang. What I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, as a society a theme alal hello le anei zo ahung tam te le mi hon a ki cha du a ngai di hin. So chapang ho youth ho chunga depend here. Tomorrow what do you want the KUKI society to be taken as na thu inei do he lekha them itam ba thu bol thil bol the itam ba le every fila it is spread out there, because just small example ga selling fashion design ko ti phate yong le that's not only one line fashion design sungang chu there's a lot of department kin kana ball pen chi le apparel fashion design apparel langa bon langa kana ki pihin, but ultimately all kahung le not only one, but now I'm doing accessories and everything. I'm spreading out my wings little by little. So mi khat chun yam tia fashion design course to alanom tai te taute tu khanga chu hoila ya ko na kasim de ham ti honan be nom phat ting le chun you have everything in front of you, internet na scroll down ba ga setting a nif na lut nom he ale website na lut le hello lai ho tinga chu nif.ac.in am ho website e lut na le admission regulation ipi pa na am so kaising hin cha chu course curriculum ho za chung chu om kinen FD kiti min accessory design omen, then you have leather langa thanum ho, because min explore abolo lai ibola chilaya chu stable tai the ala chun chong chu aphat na khat he, because min abol sa i copy ibol sa nga chu in mi bo khalo na khat lampi khat isema mi hin gai the ala chun chong chu. I think it's very good. Society so nga to I got wedding chu I have not seen so many mass communication na nga kitet ho om he line styling nga ga saying nga khalani ta nga saying nga het he pe na ago na za ka do na ago so he's also self made in a way. So among struggling he in a line, we all are struggling in our own way, but among struggling in a line, but that is also something no one has explored, but he has done it. And me het ya the hitan min het so important ka sa abelo he ke bang hen na as a person, most important to ihina ibo na lamlang nga to self sustain hi theya independent ta elein idin na khat din de chanai ki bol thya sum hung the angai very important, because na bol na khat na chu na fel he wanga chu mi ko ma sum na ka thum ahung nga ya ala chu maybe you're not doing it right. Za chu chapang ho ahung class 9 simap chapang ho apana hi, it's important that ka basic ka clear ngai ti pa hi at the back of our mind we should have it, because itip na pen bang cho ozo na tele skill ipikas ka skill ipiham ti pa realization kha chu hum te hin, but in the meantime when you're studying na lekha sim na ayong chu na subject hola chu na thanop na pen khat hum din ke chu kane wapat na hi thilkhui kana thanom he, but I never wanted to be like fashion design ti pa chu kalunga chu no khapon, but ke chu ka skill chu chu na hidan hin, because kano hin ke ho chapang tam te kan he even kano chun bon ho hi apo kabon ba ding a cho lo phatin le apona cho athem kha na hui pi tho ji hin. So ama thilkhui no ko ma chu ka kitun zia kana neu tho hi dan he, because machine table aning a ko ka to the he I don't know itibe long nam ki ham na, because ta ke nga kitol te machine ho pa hin aninga ita a wheel na kom chen ako kakitun zia ka vet zi hin. So that means I might be very tiny to ang kanewin na ke tichu ga hi sa mai la chun when you keep seeing something in front of you neu khat bang chu influence o me tichu akimu in na chapang ho to eho ila uwayong chu to chu til na thanop na khat na lunga o ma hele chun mobile ine chi tawin mobile a chu you can start scrolling and see if that is something which you can go ahead and explore more na ti khat omen because ke e khanga chu chu ha chum lo hin hi wanga somehow pathen nu se na lampi hum ki sim pe pe nu zia ane ki zuya ichen yam kha chung ki pha to hi wang phat pia ele e ki son zo hin to na ho khang chi stage a na lai ho dinga chu ka sei no pe ma chu le khathim le khalang thano ma le kha heze ho chun I'm sure you will figure it out because ke bang chu le kha ka sim nom hen e wanga chu ka thep lo he because ka pa no sei zin mi ho in pung nga sim lekin pung som ka sim nga ya nahi but I was very hard working na ka ke sei phat na hi pon ka tha se lo he ka naute ho ai lo le ka ute ho in homo ho ke si aki bol chai ki sim chai ji ta o ke chu ka no to she used to grill me for like at least 2-3 hours more ti ho chone hin ka nyaw cha ki la but class 10 ho ka hung sima chu ke chu ka changa so ta ka to den ji because ka sim pa chu ka he the lo da chu ka he the to ka ta ka sim ji hin so no realization kha chu te de hin le khalang ka ha them pon I think it's high time professional course sam pham khat ka bola ka ki hin so na thei di khat ka ke hol ngai and maybe in that only I can master ti pa khat chu ikik ko yu angai na le khasim mizo si dinga hi pon ka ti dan chu ke hin le kha kasim lowa ka hung do designer ka hi do danin anagi al hin lang even in this field kalu tila chu ke hin okay fashion designer hi dinga le I think we will have to only stitch we will have to only make sketches and all this kate ka gele ahi tapon na because we have separate module asunga chu you have to go and library pung za hang to te hungai ta sim te hungai tho hin every fila chu lekha sim te ngai hin but na USP ipiham na ki he na skill chu ipiham na talent ti na talent chu ipiham na ki khol chila nga sei dinga tulai ho abai lampe na ga sei dinga mizo si sum lo pha ting tele a he the lo pha ting le parlara na tong tang e tho bang ase omena bolu win a kho poi parlara ang chuna to ha he jong chu because you are actually serving somebody the whole day na to ha na chong chu e bang cha chun lu thia le chi professional chun master go in lang so mi he the khanan hom do the jong chu ja chu I think any field any line I choose patin le it is say dham aneu ompoe na to chu ipi ta feel hi ta photographer hoyong ga hisab le chun renowned photographer ho chu they are paid like in lakhs so any small field that you must have chosen can become your like make you to a billionaire na ga say ding a chu kati kyong chun fashion designing chu aki ka ala apa na kan choose hi wanga chu pathinu se da guidance neu cha ban ban kai because I'm also the first generation fashion designer ja chu boy thowin guide akinai pon to I suppose e hola hi kom kha chop chilang line hi lu no male I am there to help na somehow I'm just a call away in do ipam khan se le ka he kham chu ka guide the hi tai but e khanga chu ga call la no ta he o lo le he pa lo le he no ga te ga do thei ding koi ma cha ka kan nei po ye na but e ho tu khanga hi internet accessibility to ila wa chu thema khat feel chong chu ma him ki spread out kon ta win na ilung neo ho yong chu ilung gel ho yong chu hung len zep tan ja chu plus point tam ta ine win and I'm sure chapang hung khang do ti de ham class 9 simnalai elo le 10 chai ta 12 bolding hi align ki khel uma hong le suppose ama sa science and sima abu mo lo za le commerce ki khela me lo le arts ki khela mo hong chu I don't think that is going to be a problem because somehow channelize nen bol the tho de he na bol nom pen kha chu ja chu lung neu po tin it is say ham ki ho ta bong ho in bon an tham khai han bol do thei le kyong ka pang ka bol thei de ti pa chu ki gel che utin ka kan sei no men I think ka sei cho de zeng in but k life ako na nakihilding uba niya khat kadai chu ipiham tile. I am not from a wealthy background. I am also from like lower middle class di ham ma pa na ki ong kan hin, but fashion industry ai ke ho to hong kalu thaila chun no ho la achapong ho yong manage na bo thai mama o heti pa chu encourage kan volume and na feel na ki choose di lawa hyong le. Don't worry, you can always restart, because kung chang chapang cha cha hin lai bin mi ho in 40 years zowa thil abola a success thaile iho ta hi chapang hin lai bin, but chisu ka sei za chu kinok che hilowa ka sei nan chu na moto chu ipiham na bol dinga list ipi umam izola nga ipitai Dominic and saying preparation about patung how strict they are to it chita banga chu hong chun you have to sacrifice some things in life to achieve something na sia chu social activity hong very important hi mamain, but please learn to balance both, because ke ho khanga pa na ka mu zeng thil khat kam hi in ji ho society a avoid na kamu hin phem khat hong hi a le chapang student ho chu first hi zi in mun khana ke khom diu male hong te ngai henge na chi te ngai, but chize a chu na exam na postpone lo le na bol dinga thil khat na koi son lo di hi both are very important chipa chu head over talent ipiham iki choose wa iki head na dingo wa chu iki hold dingo ka dein tu ni chilai phat ni pi zin avelin ki patu kan saying if there's anything that I can guide, then let me know. Chan chu kai phat heta hen ki pa ene
Thungai ta legel tai se piu Mam Roslyn changa ki pathui se win. And finally, a very popular football player, Mr. Hangshing, a professional footballer. He captained Churchill Brothers FC Goa to victory in the league 2024-2025 season. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Kakipain ama sa pen ni tabang phat phai piwa pathin kathang vain kadin do ma sai ka hong ra pa na ka ki gela hi lein ka sei di chunya phat wang chu kan ki ji do nan ong khomi ka vet ai le ke lai ni mo mong kam hi na hi le phamo ka sa le in ji jong le kakipain hilanga resource person ho thuman tam ta ai sei pi uin ke jong hi ki chapang thai ana chapang tha theileng ka thanup na tam bi tu ni ka ke ngai doi na hi le am ho zo si za jong ki pa thu ka se in chule na bon che ke vin ama sa pen penin ka ngai du na le ka jana salam ka hin pi in pia hi ka sei ta in ipia ka parai pia ka cheri tham no ka he hi in a bol pe ka hi jing in bol khadeba melam bol tui tin pe lang ka bol thei pe ni ding ai in sin na thin na ti le la ka vet jong se ke sai na jing na thim theu bin delhi a thei ta thei chu hi le ke ge la chu a hi jong a hi in na chi na ho jong lang pe thong ding ai ta in pia ko nai pi ka sei do thei di ham ti ka ge la hi le phamo ka sal he in ipi hi le ka to muna ka ni ki ge phat chu hi le hin adam hi loin pathinin mi adi ni ma cha hi jong le hi chanai koi na pa hi mi the koi na pa hi ke ma hin khuzoi ne khat se len ka tia hi ke hi kamin lam golin a hi in to a geljang in langa khomin thang pen geljang resort te khu ka hi in resort ke ho ke ho khumana um hi in chule abai lam ta in se len football career hi ke zo hi kum baptisma kana chang kumin football pe dia kana kilhan a hi in ka kilhan na ba na hin class 10 ka pass class 10 ni first ka chai tho hin gen jang class 10 ka chaya hi hobung ka hobung te bin lam kai te hin mi pi ma ya hi class 10 pass to 12 pass ho hi e lo pi zio bin zathum tum kana ki sano hin jiwa hin ke hoi ka em in life in a do pi win in a dong win ke hin jiwa hin second thought loi football la kana ti hi in mi zo si chun nu ya hi in ke jong ka gel lang khala nga hin kahi na num pen chu hi doctor na hi in ting bela hi e wanga chu in sung gen the ha sale le buina za tum ja hi thel zo si e de wanga chi lo hi in siwa hin football pe ding hi kana nu min kana ki ti min mi pathin mai le mi zo si mai kana ki ti ba hi in chuna ba na chilai hobung mama chu howin sunga chu kapu pa khat hi taw na man ding in kana ki henin ama to hin pathin pha sai le jing ni khu ting le hin je le na khu ki chim ding ka hi min ka ki chim ma sang si le khun ama khu taw na ka ki nei sa je hi in kapu thang khu to nga hi in chuna ba na hin 12 zong hi first ka chai in 60% ka mo in first ra ka che hi 2013 na hin professional ka hong load in professional ka hong load ka ti in public ground na kana ki chima sa penin pathin lung sin na in ke hi ka ham phat na pen chwe le in ka ne wa ki pana hi taw na kana ngai sangin ka zo chana hi bible kana si ma hi in to hi ka phat lo wa ngai bi ha chi khu pai pathin kan ki but na pa jalin pathin kana ngai sa na jala hi ka ki chim na hin akum si in 2013 14 15 16 18 chana hin aban banin district level state level le national champion ti hin ka hung umin pathin lung si in 2018 in manipur ka hin dal ha in bangalore ka hung in same year in churchila ka umin churchila hin kumsagi to bang hi kan ki chimin chi zo wa hin tu ko mi delhi ka hung hi in football hi ipiha non gelo chin anu man gel mai theo hi in na football ha sa dan hi team pera si hi azo ka se cho ta hin hi ba amaya hung to so ti ho madam ti ho in sa ti ho amo tu se hi kaza hi ke hi le cha bang thei le hin ka professional hi ka he ding thing bera ka se hi in aji chu football ngai pasan hi le football ngai lo kium lo hi ni ho thing la mi ho hi a hello jong kium lo hi in tu ni la ya meeting ji program chai zo tim le game ki chi mo ti le na bon man na tha dum mai theo hi in professional hi lo bang a chu a game ki ti hi in ji ka hin se lo na pen chu a sa dan yo khat ka sei no min pi ha mi zo si ball pi hi ta in to a civil service to pi ha exam pi dinga chu mi lak som lang ti hi in bo ka den football pe chu lak som ni ve ri chu o ku sung e holang di sa bang ku sung a pasal zo si na pe hi chu o ka ka ik to lo be na ila pasal zo sin ki pe ma hi chu o chu na ba na hin a ha san na ka se ang na long chu ka hin se ding a hi in a ha san na ka hin se num na pen chu hi le hin e langa ball pe phat ding le hin ipiti ti di ha e ma lung ge la hi ta in mi ko son no ya ball hung pe phat le hin e ma dei bang hi ta lo na e ma dei bang hi ta lo hi na ba na hi nhai điều phật cái đấy giống hi football pe do giống hi no ima chana ge lo wang civil service sang ha sa zo hi ka to lo hi ha sa mo mo aji chu struggle na pa hi ke ma ha sa na zo hi no ha sa na zo hi mi him chu e ma lam chum che ipal chum chi hi ki ha sa chum me ki jong ka ti thei di ko in e wa ke experience ke tu na ko na zo hi quite ma sai football pe di ka dei lo hi in e wa nga hi anup na langa igel tinga hi le chun pathin long sin a top level changya I hung thun thia hi la chun match khat bo se ikichip hoya la chun aw na summu chu lang akro jong thing ki the hi in e chilang chu igela hi le in e jong le ipiha football hi thing bera chu kai ma ka dei sa lo hi in aji chu ki ho hi tun pathin long sin mi he the khat ka hi taw win ipiha cái hình khu rồi cái chim nấu rồi thì match khát riêng cái chim đi bằng khu cái chung và match chung ai piung luôn thì cái xây thì lâu hiện cái vang sẽ là cái lâu match khát cái trái thì kia là hiện thì ha government service là civil service pi ham hỗ trợ là chung anh yêu đúng gì à chú service sum nó cái mùa hiện nó tổ na lịt lệ nó thip na lịt là chung tổ na muốn lịt nó cái này đi ngay hiện nó tổ na nhiều lệ anh yêu dẹp này đi em mà chú tổ na này thâu đi ngay hiện đòi hi cái gì sportman cái gì mà healthy pending cái gì cái đầm lâu to cái con đập to hin chụp phăng pen cái gì mà thì ha nhiều phật các gã sĩ lập hình tin như vậy thì cái mà sao không đi hoa dâu sử dụng à xây tại in cái gì là hi lên thì hoa dâu sử cái bạn này hard work cái hi in hard work in bạn discipline này in discipline này bạn này consistency poimo cái sapian in aji chu cái ông hi ai lịch hi cũng sẽ ghi lệ akit tabang hi kana pi ahin abona ka sima hi le ai sel ho tabang hi ai li kum ni thum ka pi zowa hi 2020 no ai sel hi ne chi theding ka hi ta in jong le pathini kya di lam chuma umi ana gunin ai li ga chun ka den kai ka sei nu na pen jo hi le hin azowa su pi pa in ai sei ta in kum civil service abol masanga hi kum khat masanga hi pung ka age da sima hi in ai chu ipiha igela hi le hin ni khat ni hi lo cho hard work pa chu kum hlunga hi in a hi na bana a discipline hi in hoji hi na bana hin athu pi pen choi consistency ta ni si a pung ka ge da sim chu ichana pha chum pi ham na to result wi mo hi in ni che hi in hoji ta banga chu ama to na hin ke to na hi in adang ho jo si to na hi jong le hin ipilam mi la mi khat hina lo hin di tia hi le hin hard work discipline consistency angaya hi in chuna bana apoi mo pen chu ho hi mi nung del hin la vin ichi ho bana hi ya pathin ya khanai koi lo le ipilam lo lam mujang lo di ka sei no min aji chu ke chi hi ke ya kuna ka head a hi in ka experience aku na ka hin se a hi in chule achai na ring khat in sei ka ting tunia naute naw atam joi naute ni taw vin hi wang hom ni wang pha kan saw vin aji chu delhi ana theu vin ipiha geleu chun delhi a numa theu mi tam ta ding a hi in delhi muna na me meu joi wang pha na ki sa di o hi in chuna bana hi in chuna bana azo heun a sei ta in tulai phone vet le hin mi lo hengoi piti ahin khu thil zo sium alo sam hoi pia bole lo samam alo lema pia bole lo lengam ti hi phone thil zo sium hi ta in chi ji a hi thil ho zo si ka seinum pen chu pathin he a hi le na lo hinum lo chu nang ku da ki nga he ti ka seinu min aji chu ka se banga phone a ta in na lo hinum le na bole na ki he a hi in ken ke se thu chu min koi phal le chun azo a ke ma sa hung ding ho chu se ho chu ngai le chu kyong I jana hi wa ka din wa ngai ke le ke tam ta kan ki ti le kho hi ta in tu chung hilaya KSOD&NCR in ko wa hin thoma sin che kan ki phalamin Canada cha he hi in wa nga lang khala ka ki gelin chi hi tu ni ko hong lo na pa hi ke le ke ka ki til kho na ding a hi ka ki la a hi thing ba a hi no zo si mai ko hong ding hi ke le ke ka ki til kho na ding tua pathini hi chanai koi pa hi step khat ka chi be na ringai ka kila je no ma ya ka hong ding a hi ka sei di pe ong ka he hi in suna ba na hin ka sei num jong ka sei ke apa na sei do din jong ka nei di hi in ipi ha ka sei bangin abol pe lung lu da hi la chu neu khat ke apa na hi tam ta ka sei thei ding a hi in chi a hi ka ki phalam na ba na hin ka sei chop neu nu ta in adang hi lovin ngai cha khat ka nei in na ho zo si ma ya hin ken jong tu a hi ki ho jong hi ai sela pe hi mi nga ka hiu vin ke ka hi in khai min thang thum dim manglin thang kip gen hin bun thang lu na hi in ulin 6 million dongal chu he chu ke dio hi ta in ki ho jong hi veleu chun adang zo si sa bol pe hi ape do tu ta dia hi ape sang hi mi li mi nga ham bo se ka hiu vin lung sit ta ka sei nong ten chu ai the chana hi taw na nei nong de lu vin lang nei sapol vin lang aji chu lam dang hi le hin lam chum hi le hin analol hing masa lo le lampi phata an ko pum masa tium dinga hi in to thing hang mi adinga hi ki ho line to banga hi ki ho hi ahung masa ka hi jo wa hi ka sei banga hi thil hi ha sa hi in azil be na ding lo le pi ha ai ka ki hel na ding ti hi thelo hi in to ai ma ka din bangai ki hi pam na hi chapang ta banga na lai ka hi in non professional ta anin mu mai thewa hin e wa hi ipiha e kase ba hi koi macha apana hi kizil theina ding ti lo i het thei pe nu chui le ta hi Ronaldo lim Messi lim phone dunga ki koya ta mo ki chi bo dunga ki via hi ta hi ki khangli na hi in iping zol ka se nom pe no ki ho jong hi mi li mi nga ka hi ve in lung sit ta in e na taw na wa nei nung del vin lang ki hom nunga hong khanglin ding ho a hi in na taw na wa nei nung del ju ko vin ti chu a chaina ka hin se tin ka se hil ka se wal na ki ngai dong te tan
Tumantai se piu Sir Gogou Hangshing Sungin ki pathway se oven. Tun Q&A session hung ki hande hin. I donu mu doubts in eole iki do pan thei tau he.
Khang thau do si hin question dong nu ma le to a resource person ma sanga ding ho hi am ho hi particularly a ham elole hin amino na mention din question o chu pi ham specific ana to no mo. Anything ana do theo ya mo stream I mo hin ahead amon ahead pen no ko man advise you hin or in general la bon wa ko na advice on la nu ma on chin chong na do theo he to ai question dong num min na khot hin dom din lang ba ji dong ju ya zo lo lin cha lo pe chapang oi ta ku hi ta ki phat lam ni lo he lin u te hi na alo le hin u te hi na nu te hi na pa te hi na hi na ho pi na ho ti kan sen question dong num ne lo na khot no hin dam bo mai ki hung ki pass de
Amasa in tuni guest ho na chung cheba ke pathu ke hin so in banting la organizing committee ho chung ang ke pathu ke hin se tuni ken question ke hin do masat penum cho hi sargin ke hin do no min na related lo mai the he wanga chu ken ka doubts ka he cha ka do no min che ma sangin chen ken class 12 cha in pharmacy ken seminar he wanga chu conflict ho ji in kasim ka zop thai point na ai wanga chu ko lung lut na lai chala army line hi ne ka lung na lut na hi cha chu e chana pharmacy line a hi army a hina like active service chung a hi chana scope omam a hi lawa hi le like just the farm ka chai a hi in na chai fresh la lut na di omam a hi lawa le do I need to have some experience na a hi lawa hi le after I join na ichana ka khantau be thayam te chu ne khat ne het haile nanga kon ka het thai de ham Google ka holin I'm not satisfied with the answer I got there
question kha na ki changa cho ka don bu thelo de am ta na see usually kyo army sunga na you pharmacist ya he chombya other than RR ho chitabong hai lo hai na so I can you can contact me later I am going to in depth to RR hoi chona khoi pharmacist ho ko tam do civilian khai ba o mo civilian employee ana kyo nursing assistant ki tin ki ho nurse ho ko na pasal hin kyo nursing assistant ho ko amo ko na ba je ngo yo kingan si ana mo lo le ai amo ki hil ke nam ho kun tu ta dia so mo na ba no ja as a civilian defense civilian employee umbe ta cho ko bang pu big hospital command hospital to bang umbe ji but line clarity how to go about iti hamchu ola kyong personally I can ask them and come back to you tu chan ya chang chu Google in jaw tu awang di
inka ke pai sir ai la ka din la ai ka do be no mena chu sir Dominic ka ha ding ang ka senior he na ma ka do num chu light after conflict jawa he get study gap ni he kitam ta na abating la mi tam ta hi agi get ja hi BPO call center na tong kitam tain jan mi tam ta ding hi kitha pat hi very challenging things a hi tain na ja chu like nang ma experience dung jo ya for every student ading chu to come into this civil service exam fee lang lu na ding hi na like how many or what steps can be done or what are the allotted time na training ka diha ka titan chu hichi fila normal training a hung na dinga chu ichana pakigot diu ham ahilawa ahile phat ichan ho hung lut di ham banting le dithi sunga hi coaching la apha mai just self study ho apha di ham ti chu ne khalong kha na ma cha
ki pao me na nan do so first of all aha sat na na sai tai na aha sat dung zu yang chu Fichi track nga nong looking at them so ha sa dia ti so accept nga hian na it's not gonna be an easy thing as it chu na say bang so BPO hian lang munda nga na tunga ko na hong nung lut in ka ti so ha anu poi ti so first of all accept nga ka sign na second of all put ya maybe few practical steps which I can suggest is that when it comes to coaching here it depends on you. Coaching helps but it's not a necessity. Kay chun optional ading ang coaching kanala cho. But there was way back in 2019 during my third year of graduation. Bali ZS ading ang coaching kanala lo. So I did self study and it was fine, perfectly fine. So having said that, to a HTT ni so hin combine leng. Suppose ana BPO ka hi normal track nga lut masahi. One thing that we can do is again make use of internet. Telegram ako'y lut na le study material tamta available hi tayo na. All the toppers have their strategy. Not only that, pirated copies of coaching videos ang hitam tao mahin na. In Telegram Haokip muthehin. Isar suppose ana Subaranjan na political science bang isar normal Subaranjan political science or Waziram ZSI search has on video tam taong dozing hina. So perhaps to training na to alai sunga hi you can maybe watch one videos a day and that's how you build your foundation slowly by slowly. But it's gonna take time. As it's video in website na ding achu minimum 1 year na la mai thei so as it's na tong kom ni heza so na. But after that 1 year if you think you have enough of the basic then it's a risk. As it true, financially young stable na hilawa le UPSC yung or any exams mo bolin on kiti hilawa hiya na. So during that, on one hand you build your financial strength, be it on your own or be it through relative. And during that journey, to kasi Telegram group so ko mahina so ko vian lang video ho not just civil service every exam ading ana SSC banking na prepare no ma zong le. Every day 1 hour I don't know na YouTube akon lunin lang or SSC ho dia who course man zong tam lo hin na they're just like I think 3,000 4,000 so it's also subscribe na bola training na chi sungai all ola video na vet now or say weekend ho na or off na ni tingala na just all ola video na vet na le maybe after 1 year you might be able to give your full 100% dedication and that perhaps might help you to be back on track. So if there's anything that we can add, other resource person, but yeah, that's it.
Okay, sir, kaki pa ito so hintin. Khat kahay pa ina sir gin katha to ano min sir. Som khatlayan chun CDS OTA ko kana thermi kana kigongin na. Ay bangin chun BA graduation certificate kana ithelo in chun katime AC age limit kana. Jin chun CDS OTA he kana like I lost the chance na. Is there any other opportunity where I can still get on that track or any job? That jitu kaya ding a question China hitai na answer ni boda jang jeba ka kipai abana kanai phala kang din kiti.
To as CDS ko kyo ading alut na ding last is criteria ko asang pe nahi tai na. But sorry to say ki CDS ko no khokare lechun entry ko army official lang alut na di ko ki chai. Last opportunity is go hai. Ebang NCC certificate na ko pula na NCC certificate na C certificate na ko minimum B grading with graduate 50% ako. G age limit pa ko tam thoi na chong try the. But chong if I am not wrong 25 26 sambo chong ko. CDS ko last hidi ta chong. G kalwa ko tanaw di. Yes relaxation lo. Kaya kulanga just like your tribal quota system lo ja ko na. You are Army for the just for clarification. There is no quota system in armed forces. Yes.
Sorry, just to add to CDS having also age limit bangason. If you're really interested in the uniform service opportunities dang hoson heading song katasan na hello khale SSC ni CPO ho zong hin na they are like sub inspector level, they are the subordinate officer, but still it's a very lucrative and good job for every one of us. So kahin et no mahi.
Hello. Pa ken kan do no mila brother Gogou ang singen na. He da so the pa igal mi te ta mele ho hi phaya yo ani ki umhen na uti hi ani ki zui ying he na tu yong ka sai pa amin mang ka pha nong po na big course ka dai ta na India na amo he cái chủ là footballer hết rồi anh nung cái nó duy lệ gì hiện na iti khát ham coaching sai họ cần hết nung giá chứ giờ ama hiện lại player so hi lại club aman anh cái hết pi line này họ hi lại 1 week trial cái boy 2 weeks trial cái boy thì họ hi platform anh ship pi yên hết na lại so lúc tây đi rồi club mà hết lúc tây đi rồi là opportunity khát anh pi hết na si họ yong lại player so yong lại ai sang cái boy nó ưu tiên họ hiện trong cái tập bằng hệ nó ship bị thế lo ham họ tập bằng họ đã cái tiền luôn cái độ luôn này chứ
cái bao mình na thứ độ chú thil hi tua nó sẽ bằng chú ibo lai le hin abaya bay là mà hin ai vàng ai cái hồi hi tua mấy thế nó sẽ họ chơi le chun coaching alu đôi hi ta in coach khát chun khát player khát promote ở đây ngay rồi le ama min zanga step khara kal be na dinga chu ama min hoya hi in to a ke ho hi to na se bang chu ka bola ka bol no mo hi in nei wanga hi ke ho jong hi azo ka se bangin mi li mi nga ham ka hi win chika hin thil hi player ho hin a het team de khat ka de na khat hi ke ho jong hi player khat ka hin ala win aji chu coaching a ka lu do hi hin kho ta lo hi in to hi ke ho hin ke hon jong hi mi ka vet tho hi in player hi a deserve mo ngai le hin hi lai hin ki koile ama level to ki 20 ti hi ki he tho hi in hutilo wa chu ke hi ka u kana hi ball pi hi in kana pa hi tu ajong hi club hoi ta ka khum the hi in e wanga hi ke power ke thune na ka khumai le hin ama level ama preparation e ro le ama a step a level dung jai hong lo je a hi ama zala chu ke hi ka min si the hi in chi jai ama jong zero su the min ke ma e ta san na pa jong hi zero su the hi in chi jai hi player ho hin het nga ka dei pian choi lang khal langa hi kyon jong observe ka bo tho hi in to hi academy tam ta uma hi ta in na academy ho a coach ho to ki thuza aji a hi chi hi amo hin a student jo mi ja somli som ngala achun hila chu khatleni chu hoi te hi in hi chin a deserve ti ho choi leng ki ho jong hi ka bol the da na wa chu player chu alo the lo wa a hong khang lin chu ka dei hoi ti chu ka hin se he
ken jong cái dầu bao Gogou đồng kinh cái tiếng cái này ghi rằng cái gì không gì hơn nhiều cái này không hơn nhiều rằng lẽ gì không mà nó chú serious cái kéo khăn lâu hiện na chỉ platform mà ngay cái đồ nôm mình chỉ cái code lang cái thà nôm mình chỉ giống cái chỉ pi hiện ama hi church là cùng sẽ gì ông mình captain giống cái này hiện aban lẽ ai sẽ long luôn captain là chẳng phải kinh ati lẽ nhiều khát cái đồ nôm là chú foreign coach to Indian coach hi khi na piumam aban le in langa hi coaching center academy in evin so hu ichanai khan to thei du am neu khatna guidance ngai chai cha du ka hung din question ni he o
ama sa choi le foreign coach to Indian coach hi in hi lang khalanga chu foreign a coach cho hi lo foreign mi him hi ahung le hin imit vet pa hi lungel pa hi e lang zo si sanga hi one step ahead hi kimute te hi in athip lo pa thu chu me le hin foreign mi ki pot hi an kang je ba hi le hin ami vo mo wang min piha azal dan chu ma hi in mi ka ho mo hi imudan hi na chum jep te hi in lang khat langa chu ipiha ke wang chu jang ke mi ka hi in coach ho hi lang khat langa chu thing pera sia chu foreign coach ala theo chule ajin la chona sang jep te hi in India to tia hi India mi to tia hi chuna ba na hin a training momong hi different a hin a level hi chu momong a hi in chuna ba na as a player adinga hi a foreign coach who a first is a Indian coach dong le foreign coach ko first priority ki pite te hin aji chu a Indian mi ho sanga chu a foreign te kun a line hi le pi le a he zo te ku a hi zo nga hi in ji a khu comparison wang hi India to foreign coach wang hi ki ball the rin ka ta asan hi in chuna bana second chu academy thuna tu a hi azo ka se bang hi in langa hi academy hi ke het khelo le som thum wal dinga hi ta in ta zo a mi zo si ball pe ka ti chu a hi in ipiha ahoy na pian chu sei le hen chapang ki ong hi to hi ka u to hin life academy ka bolin ki ho area lang hon chapang jani balding a hin ka he lo le chu khu ahoy pian khu ina ang va phone na ve do va na ta aki pin sang wa am ho ta sa dam the ni nga chu khu apian a first ha ku ki ko ya hi in academy bol wa chu mi zo si chu hu zan mi om wa ho mi khat le ni jong khu lo hing lo mai the hi in atu pi pen na dinga chu a discipline ho ahong hoya adam thina de khu ki focus hi in chilo wa chu a player khat le ni ise banga zo ka se banga chu ball thi am le hu chi ho di gel na ko ma na ta chu academy ho ki ball he
ki pai
ki pau men tu la ke so itu bang pa pa ingun biwa celaya mi pi maya kau teo si ni gen loling ta athian na me puyu chu song la ka ki pa in ke so ni ta bang care counseling mai ka nga ji ngai aji chu dilai kim wangin chapang tam ta hi mai hin ko ki boi pi le care counseling mai ki nei man zui pon I loling ho ko ma pon na question ni dwara thira ki hen na ga sei ding a chu ja chu ka do num na kha choi le ipi quality 5 quality ni pi bin ne in kwa section na ding a ipi filism le na bonds ke bin khachi chi ni pi bin ne 5 quality ni pi bin ne ga tin
Okay, in any field to be successful, I think what I could gather from the conversations today, I think number one is clarity of thought. Because in today's time where there information and there's so much to consume, everything is available at just a punch or a click of a button. So you have to be able to disseminate which information is relevant for you, because there is no one size that fits all. I am someone who had explored an option in sitting for civil services. I kind of enjoyed, but I was never really keen to, make it if I don't know how good a bureaucrat I would have been, because I'm quite emotional and, I'm not very good at stress management. So that is also one reason why I say that God had given me this profession rather than me choosing it. But over the years, what I've realized is also that for me as a person, I am very clear about the fact that I am very family oriented. So I have to be in a job which will allow me to pursue, like Dominic said, the little joys of life. And I derive that by taking a walk. It's as simple as going for an evening walk. And I love to watch the clouds because I was brought up in Shillong. So, somewhere it does have an, impact on your personality. So I made it was very clear for me that number one, it has to be a job that will give me a lot of family time. Two, it will be a job that will give me time to pursue my interests, because my job is a very small part of my existence. So, I being one of the very few in the subject of law perhaps, especially being a woman, I would get a lot like, oh, you're in the field of law. That was when I was unmarried. Oh, always that. And now when I encounter people also, they'll say, wow, you're in law. For me, it's like any other branch of study, So I think also what is so important in any field you want to get into, the consistency is important. It's not intelligence, it's a consistency. And the fourth thing I would say is that you need to read. Because we are in either on your palm top, on your phone, on your laptop, or like book. I'm a very old soul, so I like to read books. So now what I do is I commute from Chhatarpur because I stay in Vasant Kunj to university. So although I can drive, but I choose to take the metro. So that gives me a window of 1 hour on the metro. So what I do is I usually read my non-academic books, and I like to read biographies. So in the long run, I feel that somehow it enhances my classroom teaching, because there's never of anything called too much reading. The more you read, the more you realize, this is what happens, this is what is supposed to be. So I think you need to develop a hobby, and it has to be a positive self-activity as well. And I think consistency is something that's very important. And I think, we also have to accept the fact that we are in a very transient phase of our life. Nothing is permanent. So you don't have to take, everything too seriously. If this doesn't happen, it's the end of my life. There's so much more to life. It's just that you haven't exploded enough. So I think a positive attitude, to top everything, I would say, from my experience, ho jayega. Like the Bengali says, cholbe, hoben. So, it's okay. So it's you who needs to have that positive attitude. That's all I would say.
ke hisab dana ma'am and Satan zo lang kasi sa to repeat back it lang you should know your talent na talent it ham naki find out masa na halajun na ding achu na to ase bang achu clarity of thought atizo when I say talent it means like na tip na pen lo na ball tape pen.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am.
Yes.
Kado min nakal chu talin ka define ding chu tel jo si try nga ya me lo le. Ilunga khat chu chi pi nga ya me lo le. Chu thawan clear de ni sai.
Right. So ga saving chu as a person nang chu lekha langa incline ni ala that means you are actually lekha sim lang chu na thep na lang da na ki het thima hala chun chu na pursue be ngai and for example ke bang chu designing lang chu kathanop na hi chu kan ki het pha na chu ka pursue be he na so na actual moto pa chu pham chu na ki het ma sa lo ala chun na jui na lang chu sure thai lo de hin na because that is very important na main skill lo na thep na pa because for example me kumizat ham khat designing lang kan bol hitan there are times when you're not successful enough lunga omzi he but since passionate nahi za achu na thanom na khat na bol hi za achu even on those days when things are not working right it makes you running na hal he zong le na thanom ma khat na hi za achu hainom lo na pa ho kinai he so you have to figure out what exactly is your talent ka saving achu koim khat na hong sei pi tholo de he chi nang talent he chi bol na hong ti pe lo de you have to naki analyze part he na because 11 12 the college life sunga hi ithil bol ha pa na he ele ne khat ke analyze the hin chilang pang he ka zui the te anaki gel ha pan he alachun aman mamin asaitan na gel ha khat pa chu juina dinga chu ipipinga yam chu obviously you will start checking out na chu hungai hin chu a clarity pa chu nga important pen here and I think besides that to kaga say zap chu hin say phakit leng determination inei lo wa hile imacha successful lo hin determination is very very important in any field because ke khanga tile ke 2001 to ga se dinga chu kate o hitai 2001 nif ka kai pe na chu there were times when I was not I was thinking that I'm not fitting in this place ta ki gel ha na umzi he tam ta ve but then that determination because of that ha le zong le kachi be be zinga kan ki chai tha the hin na chida banga chu no hoyong chu na ki gel ha the na ding khat chu naki koi ngai I think those two qualities
Hatam
ma'am nun say to the head tasuna talent to find nathanop now is very important no to no confused palachun ipya nathanom that should guide you nathanom lo phalo hi khalachun bang bol hen lang na hello the cat de hello but thanom lang jo gp de situ
if there are anyone out of this whole crowd koi tabang designing lang alunong umtai ti taute in this stage umuwahi there's like too many things kasi dinga style kita te pitata fashion lang ayong chu update hi ngai khat and among those also you'll find so many things similar things out there but unique nahi ahila chun you will sustain ja chu nang as a person as a designer na unique style na ahile you will keep on you will be able to sustain this whole business ja chu I think if anyone is interested towards fashion designing and all ahin simpana pa ahin vet hinahi chu but the main important thing is that you should have a unique style otherwise crowd na chu atam be se za koi macha chun koi pen chu koi ham an het thelo pa ho me hen ke chun advantage kan nain ga saving achu very ke kahong passed out till graduate kahong hi zo achu eho aim society achu tia designing lang anna tamlo za achu the thing I chose to do I was a little different from the rest of the crowd so achu I think I was able to do little better than the rest so achu ka sustain thai tu changia I'm able to go forward and do it better to achu kasai no pensiale if you are interested in designing line then you have to figure out what would be your style nang unique nahi chu ipiham chu nane ya hila chun you'll be able to sustain so here.
Can I just add just one point which I think Dominic also mentioned, even Gogou also. Like I said, you can't just go with the crowd the whole time, because that's what ma'am is also talking about. I would want to put it as strength of character. Each of us is a universe in ourselves. So if you take too much of advice, let us also remind ourselves that not everyone is our well-wisher. There were times when I, sat for the exams and when I cleared the written for judicial exam or something, there were people, even amongst the extended family, who came and told my parents that why did you make her choose this? Because in our families, in our tribal society family, it's parents who choose for us. Profession, you will be a doctor, you will be this, you're talkative, so you'll be in the law, things like that, And now when I look back, 13 years into teaching, when I look back, some of the advice, it didn't come from a safe or secured place. It is because at every life there's a competition. When you have children of the same age and your friends' children are doing better, right, and you happen to be in the same field, it's quite humane, or let's say it's a human nature that why would I give a positive advice? So, it's very important also to realize whom you're taking advice from. And if you have a clarity of thought and if you know your talent and if you're consistent and you're willing to take the hard work, the path I feel will open up by itself. And it's also your choice because see, all of us are minorities and I call myself a micro minority because I'm a tribal woman and I'm a Christian. So I become a micro minority. So in the sea of non-believers or in the sea of, you're in a city where Delhi is a very transient city. It belongs to no person. How are you going to carve out your identity? Even if you're working in a BPO, your work has to be outstanding. And like Gogou, what he said was very important is that our Christianity, because we are ambassadors of Christ. So everywhere, every time I walk in the classroom, trust me, these days academics is also one place of nepotism. It's a lot is there. So when I am standing there in the classroom, when people come, they come because they're curious. She's from the Northeast. Can she speak the language properly? What is there for her to deliver something, out of it? So maybe my friends may make the effort 3-4 hours a day. I remember there was a time I studied for 11 hours for 55 minutes of, lecture delivery because I know that I'll be assessed at every lecture that I give. So by the grace of God and because we worship a living God, somewhere, I've also been known to have my discipline, and I think that's really important. If the class starts at 2, I'm there at 2 o'clock. I'm not there at 2:15 because the moment I come at 2:15, Mercy ma'am came in late. So that's also very important for us to have that strength of character. And you can't be apart because you all are in your career. Now you're going to choose, right? I was always very awkward socially because of the language barrier. Plus, I don't know what to do. Sports, I will not be running. I can't run. I can't play football. So I knew that even if I go there, what am I supposed to go and do? So I was, and when it comes to the church also, I was like, okay, I like to sing. All of us have a blend of singing and being from the Northeast. But then I was like, okay, if I go for the choir rehearsal, then I'll miss out on this, case that I need to read. So for me, that was one reason why I was not an antisocial. I love to be surrounded with people, but I just knew that somewhere I have to have my own little space, where I need to put my thoughts, align my thoughts. And it's no point saying that there is a fault in our stars. It's us who need to align our stars. I think I would want to say that.
Sir, go. Football higher league ki chipna ding academy zao ngaya mai le training ball ki zao theo
ทุกปีเป็นอาจูเอคาเดมีน่าจะเห็นเลยจูอาหอยเป็นอาหินอาทิจูตัวก็กมาตัวสิอดีตมันเป็นจุนสกุลานักไก่ไว้ตาจีอาหินฟุตบอลอาจงฮีเกฮีวางพัดตัวก็คิดเอาตัวอินาปนัยตากจีโตทัวอาหินมินฟุตบอลอาจูเอคาเดมี under 12 under 10 เอโลเล under 15อาชีพยันเวทพาเลเพราะอะไรเอคาเดมีห้อง graduate ทำที่ฮี10 ana graduate le 15 ana china po to ri phal le hin 15 ti ma dinga chu academy tha ho chun hoi la pana am ti chun ve dinga hin chi ja chu athu bi pe na chu academy chu join thele a pha pe na hi e
Aban sir, army azam is join le na football ki pe the
chi chu na ne khanin sei sao ta di leng ke jong hi 2018 Bangalore ka ke chip ko ma hi MEG army team ma hi Bangalore ka ke chip zo wa hi army team in ko wa hi in chuna bana Shillong azong hi in ko wa hi in chi chu hi le ke ya dinga chu abe la ma hi in amu ha pana direct ga le dar ka mo ja chu e wanga chu army team na lu nu ma len to hi te kana Delhi police team ta ma hi in lai police form na fill abana chile ka he chet wang adi chet wang dem ka he hin e wanga chu abaila ma hi in to ARC Assam Rifle Assam Regiment wa chu na apply the hi in e wanga chu chi adinga chu national certificate pe athu pi pen chu Santosh trophy na hu chu na ne le bailam ta na chi phe na to hi I League ISN hong pe army team na chi num la chu lang khalanga chu pathelong se dai chan na hong thuna hi la chun bailam ta na chi ki the ke sipai kana choose lo na ne khanin sei le hin kalongge la hi pathinin ai ser ki chip sai le hin kumni kum thum consistent ta ka pe le hin sipai hin adam sunga lo sai tam zo ka lo de he ti kan ki gel je kan chi lo hin na chi chu ne khan he ti ka hin se
ki pao me chang chu tan te
Heu Advocate Teacher Dr. Mercy Heu ken ka do nun chu ipidi nga hi ai mi te hi lawyer la nga na asan ta i ge hi do ba ipizik pian ham achu jong le ai ho tu chunga chu kal in evin case tam ai ne vin na i chu chu ai ho lawyer in midang I hire sang ba ai ho ni ki solve thei lo ham
The second question, come on, why do we need to hire more to solve? See, hierarchy, there's a hierarchy of everything. So if you go to the Supreme Court, not everyone can stand in the court. AOR kiti, advocate on record. And you can take that exam after 5 years of practice. Okay, that's one thing. Number two, why a lot of us are not there in the legal field is because I take it back to the fact that we are very ethnocentric in the sense like ipupa dan that customary ethos that we have, we uphold it very highly. So let's say even in Manipur, in our districts, the highest rate of death is caused by hit and run case. More if I take that example. Now under the Indian law, Motor Vehicles Act also, it's a cognizable offense, where the police can arrest without warrant. But if that incident happens in our locality, will you go and lodge your FIR? No. More in Sungmi Teka, they'll come together. More Pundum or like Vokitha, something like that. More in the customary way of atonement of the wrongs that you commit. So for us, the idea of the legal system of the laws was very alien. Then suddenly one fine day, 3rd May 2023, we woke up to a very sad incident that kind of made us all sit back and realize, especially it was very awakening for me in the sense of, I never looked at our society from the point of view of ever having to have a brush with the law. And I've also realized that, like I said when I was giving my presentation, have we ever thought about these people who make laws for the church, who makes law for the society, did it ever strike them that tomorrow if you have an FIR, will your customary laws be adequate to come and bail you out? You talk about bail, you have to come under your BNS, you know, the law. So that awakening was not there, because also I think we were very comfortable in our zone, you know, and that is also one reason why the bureaucracy is highly regarded, because everybody wants to have the idea of a babu, you know. And like Gogou sir also mentioned that if anyone is a foreigner, we give them so much regard because of the colonial mindset that we still have, no, that they were superior than us. So I think now what I really want is, I want more of our students to come into law, because it is important that, you know, you have to be aware of the world outside our Kangpokpi district or Churachandpur district or more the other districts that we have, because there is a world beyond that. Now, you know, there was also a case where I was asking, what do you think should we do in this case? I said, go lodge FIR. They said, no, FIR, they'll ultimately compromise. I said, whether they compromise or not, your duty is to lodge the FIR, you know. And so if we follow the law, I think there will be a lot of, in our society also, things will go better, because then people will not be too casual about committing theft, committing murder, or even committing rape. Rape is also a very, very common incidence in our society. It's just that we choose to keep quiet. Talk about domestic violence. We are a very heavily patriarchal society. These are very much, you know, visible in our society, but we make it invisible because we feel that it's a small society. More, why should you have bitter, you know, feelings against one another? But it's not. Somewhere we need to bell the cat. And I think it would be very useful if youngsters come into the law. Not saying that you have to be an advocate, at least for that awareness. Because if you look at the Indian laws, a lot of them have been derived from the Christian laws. You know, the Bible tells us don't steal. Theft is a crime. But in our society, most of the time we forgive them. So, you know, if we are true Christians also, we also have to maintain the law, no? Higher positions in law. It's also because look at the number of people who are there. You know, I don't know how many more are coming up in terms of academics. I just know that one is there who's my senior, I'm there, and maybe one have just joined. It's because we never looked at law as an option. We say, no, it's a very manly subject. That is what I got also. Why did you make your daughter study that? It's very manly subject. And the struggle is too much. She'll not be even able to afford a lipstick. These were the kind of feedback, you know, we had. But I think third May also is very good because in a way, the lessons we learned, also realizing that journalism is very important, which today, unfortunately, we did not talk about it much, right? So we also realized with this incident that it is not just the bureaucracy or the professors or the footballers or the ones in defense forces who can help us, but even journalism, because the pen is mightier than the sword, right? So I hope in the next 5 years, we'll have more number of people coming into law. And like I said, if you talk about competition exam, either it is bank PO, civil services, and now at least we are waking up to the idea of NDAs also, no? Otherwise, we all are like just going the path that has been taken. Nobody's experimental in our society. Maybe because we fear to fail. But it's okay. Even if you fail, we can always get up again. I hope I answered your question.
Number one, how do God really help you in your life to become as successful? The aspirant also see motivate in the patinin EPT nin kuba role to abola nam ho na success ho.
Success ititing I feel like I feel like we also get lost in words na. Suppose anake gelda na UPSC ka prepare dinga, so in UPSC people talks about qualities, right? What are the qualities, what are these, and then you have to do do's and don'ts. I feel like what's very important is success no matter, you have to do what is required. Kay bangsu zingka thokha lo kahi so kay nguti ko dongla. So I woke up at 10 a.m. earliest, and as well as bang social media bang kaha tham so na loi kapol na everything I did. But when you want to succeed, like abale table at chair at 2 hours, more than 2 hours I can't sit on the chair. But if you want to succeed, the most simple thing is you have to do what people have done, and you have to, you know, like nasimdi things. Or if it 10 hours lekha na simza UPSC hi lowa le hoi lam khachu success din hi le 10 hours na tongai zula. For me, I think as simple as that. So if there is anything in life that had helped me succeed, it's just that I just do what is being required. And these are not big things, these are small things, right? As other resource person have mentioned, you just have to do it with consistency. Every day waking up, every day you wake up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., you do your revision, you do your test studies. I think that's it. If it is these mundane things in life, when it accumulates, say like 1 year, 2 year, you will gain a lot of knowledge because you will also have the compound effect. And then ultimately, I think you have what it required to be a successful in life. So yeah.
Long hay dalam. Patasin na.
Sorry, ken kasay penang tujuang tuina ipiti patinin na kitupia like how did really got they katinan.
Si pathirin na kitopi na tile just like it's not a miracle to a movie akiwe tabunga chu hilau chula na. That's why we told if you are self-disciplined, maybe you also nu lepa thu nunding min lekha siminti pha lekha simding tabang na self-discipline ko ya hard work e bolle. If you do whatever you are supposed to do right, and if that includes praying, having faith in God, then everything aligns. There is no single key to success. Tilkhar bosi aka bolja success thailo so thilu su ki gom khoma life final product chu hum po do dia na, and that product going to on define through the success may be anything, may small thing, personal life, so. But the whole thing is that self-discipline and do whatever you are doing religiously and be true to yourself, then success will follow.
As well can answer in related to religion or church or God, movement. No doubt we are Christian and we are very religious. We are outside Nazuna. But there's also one thing, right? But he till palam sanga till sila mazong ha blame no mo zo. Suppose ana ke het so imi hobong so lekha hong sim be se loading. Eva exam hong fail le. But hin phat sa lo hinte. Kitizi so ana. So I think at the end God helps those who help themselves. And if there is one reason, one more thing is that at the end nothing is guaranteed, right? You also need blessings, you also need luck, and that's where I think God comes in. As long as you work hard, as long as you have people who pray for you, as long as you pray for yourself, I think we don't have to worry about that. Thank you.
I have a very silly question to Mercy. TK question, it's related to lawyers and advocate. Let's say I have a conflict between someone and I, and someone and me, sorry. Okay. And but I know that he's the bad guy, and he did something wrong to me, and nang lawyer ni chu ngaya ama lawyer kay lawyer na, for example ama chu hamoy ba, we know that lying is bad, but am ho lawyer hi na zara chu ama ho lang ama ho ipit sila ham apan pinana na. That's my question.
So you're asking me, sorry, because I'm not really fluent with the language. So you're asking me, I think what I can understand from what you're asking me is that are lawyers liars?
No, that's not. What I mean is
So how do you choose your clients even if you know that your client has done something wrong?
No, that's not what I meant. But for example, how do I say?
I did something bad. I am wrong. I hired my best lawyer.
And someone is my lawyer as well. And you know that he did something wrong and he's a bad person.
Okay, when you are a litigating advocate, like I told you, you have the options to choose. There are some advocates who never take up cases of domestic violence and they don't defend the husband. They're very woman-centric. There are very well-known names. So your question is why would I defend a person knowing that he's at fault? Because one, if you talk about the case of Kasap, he had caused, fired around more than 180 people dead, because every person has the right to legal representation. It's a part of our fundamental law. And when we talk about that, not just Indian citizens, but even foreigners, because there is also something that we call in criminal law presumption of innocence until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So even if I have seen Sir Gogou, let's say, who is the star of the day, he steals this bottle and he goes, and yet I still have to defend him, because till the time I can prove it to the court that this bottle has been stolen by him, he is innocent. So everybody has the right to representation.
Thank you.
And it's your choice whether you want to represent this kind of cases, whether you don't want to represent. That's absolutely your choice. There's no hard and fast rule. Right? I hope it satisfies your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel. Army football ipan lena. Sipay yung kipang. Ewa nga sum imucho football kipe abo kimuha may le ani niya kimuha.
The latest rule to khe danana to Indian army green to red no men na to khat ohi sa tawin. Colonel wahi ke my instructor he bang ko na aviation apanai. Last conversation dong ju to yu pa say to nga ju na. Na lo chu na nga he footballer not footballer. Army anom je ajo benefits jo si na moding. Na tol hung ele pension jong na moding na jong chu na nga. But jika chu maybe club bin ki chole na. Jong chu if you are really good ki che mana sol deu chu. Amos maybe Central Sofia Manipur represent no me ole sol deu na. Che to state in sum na pile chu na nga hai de ji chu. Even club in jong higher ji we to. Ya tu duran ka ki chim na ding ta bang na. Jong chu na nga hai de ji sum chu. Che chu hai.
Aba kat
Now to say chuna to akaloi te round glass panjaba minium beta chuna bana Gokulam Kerala hi sipai sunga chiu evanga sarpana se banga hi ai sela chi phalein sipaya alo chu izat ham khat chu 5% ham 10% ham chu a officer pau api le a contract go club a china contract chu amo agent to a club ho ki hole hilanga chu chum bera sumalo ki theu na
GA officer party corruption hi lo na kyo ai furlough ki tiveta. Furlough is just like kind of half pay na ki to lo ja so army adia ki kauza army na to lo na nang ma personal dinga na chile like kyong hi tu ai furlough kala the chole 50% pay kar hi de na ewang ka cham phat thani to suti kala the cho je ke ma personal requirement ja chu na chi ja chu
aban gala chi ngai lo pina ga sa.
He chi chu ngai lo chi chu le na the mai le chu nang chu army field lim serom ja gal sa ding no chu ki chem dinga no mo ta ya adang se thian nang bonom danai le chu nang chu na sol mai theo na a ki chaina army nang na chang na hi le chun ti da adang chu ai mai ma lai num so ke ja chu ke state ya ka bong ke chu helicopter pilot ke chu na to ke chu munda ka chi thelo chu to infantry to ground operation ka chi thelo chu ke ka role chu specific so ke army a chu ke chu le mi tha di ro le se pe ho tha di ro le ke wa chu le ke attack helicopter ja chu attack nga teng ho kap ding po chu sol theo na chu thelo si chu role so ke chu chu chu
Bye.
Yung ke pe
Kabe hung ding ke ding geting tua ka hindo di enjawa ka do lo ho tu ni guess ho tum ka do no men ama sa penin brother Gogou ka do nom chu hele ke ang chu itanam kanin chun sports lang hin kanin lu na hi wanga chu like there is big challenges for girls hi na e ho adi de ho society ding en chun jin tua hi now te ho mi anu mai sports alung lu chu hi ka he in na tua chu e adinga chu ki bai ge hi dai nei chu ai la amo adinga hi like if they are interested in sports like football tabang hi na it's an academic achinga hem hi lo bai le pt bola hi le hitilanga hi madinga gi hinsona lampi ki mu thai de ham te chu kado no men abani khat excuse me ma'am question ka raise hai da question ka din la lai na first I will go to ma'am Roslyn na ma'am personal brand này din hi tai na ka hin ke pa bin hi le chi personal brand này ni dinga hi like do I need to have some certification from the government or like just out of my creativity I gonna bring cái same thing I'm like, will that be legalized or like for example, if I'm going to come into your field, what will be the required skills like drawing, sketching, coloring, like necessary, like that's something that I have to consider before coming into the field. So to name head nominal ng ako niyan. Aban like ma'am no ako ma'am Marcia ako naghead ng ma'am. Like I hope everyone is aware of the conflict in our hometown. Dahil mi tam tahi NIA case dahil like VV hoi sanam kadi NIA case dahil jailum so. Even some of my indirect relative was only omen and like there is a lot of struggle for us. Jaju kahet nung so like what are the things that someone can be put into the cell because of like because of NIA in the case of NIA, and what are the legal procedure we have to follow to get that person out, and abanting like what is the maximum time to solve that things, like is there any given time period for that? Atang chuk he no mena kaki pa
kia joy le azo naw pa ka sepi bangahi abai lampian chu sumle pai ni ai lehin Manipur outside academia hoi hi na khara chu sumisun zo ai le wa ikoi le chun abai lampian hi in chu lang khalanga ipyam self made ina hard work hoi ta ka bola ka kitau do a ka thimna ja patheni ni kho khal in lolin te ti chu chu ma hi in hutilo wa chu sumle pai ni na la le chun academy hoi ta gam pa ma ma hi chi ho hi direct ga ium zo na dinga hi le hin ichia ho chu wa chu training hoi ta bole a ko choi de sa le chu alam pi bai pen hi ding ai akum chui le ama academy dung je hongum ding hin na lang khalanga abai lam pe na chu na pia achapang thei chena chu ama chena chu apa pen hi ding ai chiwang chu hello na lang khala chu ke hi football hi thing pe da se hi koi ma chahi 90% hota be kum di lo cho ke abo se ha sata ta class 12 kana chai ja chu ka certificate kana joi ja hi ka kum hi api ding atam loya hong ma hi na ipia kum thum kum liti hi mi akigu su ke hi atam zo hi chi ja hi lang khalanga to ten chai nunga na ko na certificate zo si na he numa ba certificate na pia ma tum bera chi nom le chu na certificate zo si zo na da la ki hi jing na akum wang chu athu pi be in ka gel po kel wang
ni hindo pen position ji le fashion brand ki bol na dinga ki hon na dinga chu immediate ta certificate ti ho ngai pun ngai sa pun but mila an home de hitan it's going to be nikhat tin chun problem man hen mu the hi ja chu it's better to register yourself under the industry commerce and industry noyana company registration kiti kharumen jichu na bolte te ngai naki bola ahle chu nang tinga advantage hai because in case of business expansion hona ne no phating le loan na la anu lo le pi hona bol no phating le that will come handy and to hi tu khanga hi udhyam registration must hitan na MSME noya ji registration ho chu in nei lo ahle chu as a fashion brand namin chu umma ma jong le min namin jo ahin kila the na so you have to have your registration done akipat na acho nehi on lo na pa jeng the he because if you're keen na thanok na khat hi a na bol nom hi ala chun na pa jeng the he because obviously chilang pa nga thanok khat chun bon khuize na he de tal punong so na he de ta na but ke suggestion wang chu whatever line that you choose try to learn the basic right because akipat na hoy ta het lawa hle chun mun khating na chun hong o the hin na so abc hellowa english na thot he ali kanam ti tabang khat hong hi de hin so you have to know that feel at least the basic right upon ipipon na tham ham naga saving ajo then ipitrim ham na tham jo cho chu na hen na theina dinga chu al home pe na course neo khat hiong le na bola chitene che feel chu na join ala chun it will come into your advantage only na so ka say no man
I'll just add to what ma'am just said about this, because in law we have the IPR, in today's time, intellectual property rights. So if supposing you want to start a new fashion house, let's say I want to start, since my initials are MK, I might want to have M and K with a crown or something which will become my mark of identity, just like you have Nike, the tick mark and all of that. So that you register it under the Indian Trademarks Act. And so once you register that, it's not very easy because you also have to establish your brand. So once you establish your brand, now I am not allowed to use the Nike tick sign for a commercial purpose, because then a criminal case can be filed against me. So I think ma'am also has a reputed brand, and she might have also registered it under trademark. So without her permission, I can't use it. So in the same way, if I'm writing a book, there's so much of piracy, there's so much of copyrights, so there's something called Copyright Acts. So if I'm writing a book, you cannot reproduce it for commercial purpose without my permission. But if it is for academic purpose, you're allowed to do that. So we are moving towards intellectual property rights. So I think it's very important that if you're interested, you should also just have an idea about it. And coming to your question for me regarding the NIA and all of that, unfortunately in India, it's not just about us. There's so many people who have been arrested under the NIA. Because it's one of the most stringent laws that we have in India. But unlike normal criminal law where we talk about, proven innocent until guilty beyond reasonable doubt, under NIA, or let's say to make it easier for you under Money Laundering Act and all, the burden of proof, what we call in law, shifts. So if you arrest me under NIA, it is not the state who's going to prove that I'm a part of some militant outfit, but I have to come and prove my innocence to the court, which is very, very difficult. So the only way you can take this person out is to file a bail, but which is very difficult to get again because these are non-bailable offenses. So it is purely on the discretion of the court. So the High Court may grant, may not grant, and even whatever reasons, the High Court will have to record their reasons, And the time taken to complete these kind of cases, the law says make it within 2 years or reasonable time. What is reasonable time? The law doesn't define for us. Because there's something called executive necessity. So these IPS officers or these people in government jobs, it becomes like an immunity for us every time there's a delay or something, because we can quote that there's an administrative necessity. So there is no time as such fixed, because if you look at a lot of people, even in Tihar jail, half of them are under trials. There is a concept of default bail. But like I said, bail also is subjected to certain conditions. So I really don't have an answer to that, because these are all matters of policy and it's a political will, and like I said, it's a draconian law, just under suspecting some person, you can put them behind bars. So obviously if, for the crisis that we are facing, where we are making allegations that the government is not doing anything, that becomes a very easy tool, to silence voices. So there's no time limit as such. You can't really talk about it.
Just to extend that question, like, what are my rights? What are the person's rights?
Hello, sorry. What are the person's right, because he is in jail and he has to file his case by his own, on his own. So it's kind of like it is tougher than other case, I guess so. But what are the rights the person can do on his side?
See, first of all, when you say that he has to file his own case, the fact of the matter is that, like I already said, it's a matter of, it's a right that we have, that even if you can't afford a private advocate, the state has to make it available to you through the legal services, amicus curiae that we talk about, right? So the state will provide you an advocate. And there are certain rights of an arrested person. Now that's very quite technical, but one of the rights is to right to health and right not to be tortured in the custody. But there are lots of gaps between the law in letter and what actually happens. So yes, basic rights that his human rights have to be intact. He has the right to representation. He has the right to health, and he has the right to be informed of his, of the progress of his case. And every time his bail hearing comes up, or every time his case hearing comes up, he needs to be physically present before the magistrate. But in today's time, even a videographic presentation is also allowed. So the magistrate or the court will give an extension of the custody only if the magistrate or the court is, satisfied that this person is physically well. So if you look at torture in today's time, nobody will, come and take a knife and stab you. Because we are at least moving towards more of transparency. But if you look at tortures, nowadays it's more of psychological torture also, the mental aspect. So yeah, there are few rights, but I think we can take it off the session also. It's quite...
Tôi question khat ken kan do den ka do chai le question khat la bi tan na chai ju Q&A session chung ki chai ta kyong students hi jan an do chu ai ho hi students ho hi open up mun pon na yo society pm iptm te le hin student ho hi mo open up lo hi so open up pan ho hi ta hi crucial ka sa e gom tu ni interaction ju ka ben chu na fluid in agat hoi le in chu le tu ni panelist sa hong pan pi adi eo society adi nga hi numai la to young and upcoming why numai ho hi I mean women empowerment aki ha ho sa in actually numai ho in to ai ho society ahung so lo za oven sai te ka to president pi hi current kyo tu term president ho ni numai he na so I have two questions for both of you. I'll first ask Haning Charam ko isa na then Haning sa ka te to na fashion house to Roslyn Khongsai na start cha ethnic wear ki hoyi hula ba sa inspiration ki la chi patterns ho na alo le hin chi designs ho hi aji jo ethnic wear ai pattern hi important le na so to hoyi hula inspiration ki la chi what inspires you to le ko ma sika donon ka chole chen recently like a few of students or working personnel in corporate sectors came up to me asking the issues with employment abuse, and some of the corporate sector workers are not getting their pay properly, and there are abuse in works, and some internship students are not getting their internship certificates. So these cases has been rife in current seasons. I've heard people have come forward and asked me a lot, and in many instances. So I wanted to ask you, how do we address these things in a legal way?
Roslyn Khongsai brand kahin same pe na choi ho KUKI society sunga I textile lutile pasal hon akisil pen na sai pi khup zem hi kahin man masat pen hin the reason is ga elaborate jab lang neu khat nif ka kai nif 2001 akan join hin ken 2001 2002 2003 I passed out and I graduated in 2004 April April 4 ahi ke hohi final graduation collection ka same ju hai na so ji collection ading ahi we do a lot of research because na collection same ju ep hola ya ep inspiration ham what is your motto for that like ep na bol no mam cha ko na ju sa thil kha ju ep ti ki hoi sa ze ma ki sim pha the am ti pa khat hi ki hilai hin na cha chu ke hin kan na gela hi midang dang koloi ho ka batchman ho chun za also ke there was one person who was totally inspired about Amitabh Bachchan that's a whole collection to Amitabh Bachchan to story is same hai so while we were in that stage ke hin kan gel pen chu byang tile e ho KUKI te exam ho hi we have so many okay textiles za in exam ho hin and they are very colorful cha chuki kalungyal pen chu nif library access ka bolte ngolo chun there were not much about the Northeast traditional things and all some part were there but kalunga jen chi pam tele it was nothing like ho KUKI ho zem pa chu mangte te inti pa ho kana ki gyali ko na I wanted to highlight the Northeast traditional textiles in the global scenario chi chu kana gyal he but for me being from a KUKI community keding achu no so I took a shortcut a little in a way. December 2003 it's like so lui bese tain ka se na ka kai 2003 December hi Christmas ka hong po do he ai le ka po na hi ka collection adinga chu I have already made up my mind that I'm going to do something like this sia chu ka in ko te ho ko ma hi pon ka khon sa chi zem chu kana khon sa ka collection hi final graduation collection chu kana base I have made like ho sai pi khup zem thang nang zem nume ho senior zem it roi tam ta kana mana collection chu kana same hai and it was a hit like me was like khat zeng because it was something new mean appreciable zeng na but since I was from a background sum ka haw lo ze wa chu immediately after graduation brand sim do ding pa chu ilunga lo he because financially kinai zo lo khat hita then kasi banga chu I did not have a guidance na because imasanga chu designer khat ni ano umsahi lang le chun we would have understood how to go about it but min a ball ki ball tabang hita na because college placement uma cha chu college placement apa na chu na to ki join pa hin na so for like few years na ka to zawahi Guwahati a conference hong umin cha ding a chu thil khat sim dikhan ti una cha chu sai pi khup zem chu avela kai man phat kit he ai le chi chu khong mana pa na chu in itham it took me some time that you know chi kana say pa globally me la ahin ta lang ding pa chu I think this is it chi pa hi kabola apai ta kan gela kan sim pa na necktie hong ki pa just one necktie design that was how it started and chi apa na the success story like just keep on and ga say ding ai ho muffler ki o jeng umunti na ki gift zing pa yong hi by chance hung so do he I never thought ki hita hi ka sim te da kan na plan po ye na asai pi khup zem chu hi na bang ta chu ko ya a texture ki sim pa chu somehow thil khat ka sim pe na hi chu hung so do hung ki manga hin and it's just been appreciated and thankfully what happened is that it is said a traditional til zem pa uchu ahi nabang ta ka koi za chu ki mang thei hin if I was like modifying it and if the design like achang mai mu ahi na ding mun cha na agosen jang ahi na ding mun cha na koi daleng to ahi chu ki mang thei ta lo de but my priority was that azem chu ahi na banga ding but next level tile aki mangjing ho pon ho sa ngaung chu handy zep ding appreciate hina thading pa chu kana emphasize a chu tu chan ya hi pathelo se na iman thei hin na so my I think small advice to anyone who would be in this field if at all abol no ma chun to aki boljing sa ho asang ang ho is ma but make sure that we don't disgrace the existing traditional textiles that we have because it has a story and we are actually telling stories to our generations and the coming generations azem ho chu in a suseta we then obviously generation pana ahong ding generation ho yong chun adik lo pa chu a copy du ta chu so you have to make sure that you are actually responsible for what you're doing chu ahi in ka inspiration to stories ni kan say here.
So about your question, I think the first is whenever you join a workplace, especially the BPOs, there's always a contract that you sign. So it's very important. I don't know if they give you a copy of it. Most of the practices that they don't give because they don't want to have any kind of claims. So wisdom is that you should have a copy of it because everyone has a smartphone. So click a picture of it and keep it because you should be aware of what you're getting into. Many times it so happens that the words are because legal terms are very difficult to understand. Sometimes they spin you around. So the first thing, pragmatic, simple is keep a copy of the contract. Second, at least in Delhi, we have Spooner. Under Spooner, there are a number of empaneled notice advocates. So if you are having a problem with your employer for non-payment of wage, which is your right, as long as you work, you are employed, it's your right, you can always approach the Spooner empaneled advocates and they can send a legal notice on your behalf. But a word of caution is that people are very vindictive and we are a minority here, no? So it's not very easy to raise voice against your employer. But like I also mentioned, it's very important to socialize and know people in your workplace because someone will be there who will empathize with you. So every organization may have an HR. So it's also important that you build a community. You know, you have to build an ecosystem for yourself so that you're not the odd one out. Because we are the odd one out because it's written on our forehead, no, that we are from a micro mini societies. So in your workplace, there's always a legal team. So the first approach would be the HR, the legal team. If that doesn't work, then you come to the schooner or you come to any person. You're most free to contact me also. Then you know you have to send them a legal notice for the non-payment of wage. But it's your right to get a wage.
Last question.
Hello, my say. Na bon wa na tuni kong si piam tada. Kaki papi mawana piam tada. Yo society songa he itabanga China chip na he kakat ta ki mubanga ta group man na bon ma ka mu hi tuni hi piam. I feel proud na bon I feel proud. Achong le ke hi piam. Tila lo lang hi ka long no themen na. Lo lang anan saya chu ta church ta in government in that church rules here kain pya ji ibat nga chun state law umin na government law me subordinate ko kiti hen na ala state law government law ibat nga la chang mo state banking ho hen ti religion lang hi mon thani lo wa hi care in amon chi thani point e kapam thima ka yan hen na so it's related. It's not how to say politics to jan kaya it is related to so ya so government in hitse bor he ya charsa loss mi he nang ne ipiti ne yaram di na sam lo charge law here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we looking at the political situation in today's time, there are so many things which are morally not wrong, but you know, unfortunately, the law will entertain only if there is a violation of your legal right. There is no punishment for moral which is wrong or right. You know, morality, we don't go into it. But yes, when we talk about India as a secular country, you know, it is very wrong, legally speaking also, that there is an unnecessary interference, you know, which is trying to bring down one religion and promote the other religion. Because the idea of secularism that we have here is different from that of Western countries. You know, in the US, they don't interfere at all with religion, but here in India, the state is allowed to interfere, which is why you have the mandirs coming up, you know. And then, so I think it is more of a political question rather than legal. And it would not be too safe for me to make too much of a comment on that, given that I'm an employee of the government. For the state to make policies. No, separation of powers wouldn't even allow that, no? Theoretically, nothing is allowed, but politically, everything is possible, no, in today's time. That's the only way
okay. Miss Roslyn, question nga nam choy da. Ito nang ta chi nang nisibdo pai nang maona na bodo pai. Ilang nga hi katiran so Northeast lang ana. Northeast ho Manipur gamahi ho gamahi ya biga nang ma company hon kyong ta pon lung na gyal kha.
Okay, friend ahung ki so do zawa ki contribute kabol no mama ze ale I had actually started taking steps to make the brand, you know, come to life more like a coaching institute in Imphal. Ka store ka flagship store chu namukha di hawang ka hepon Imphal chu it's like right kung nang kar kitia na dula len kom. So one floor chu machine hall lined up kabolowa. We wanted to start an institute. So I wanted to be actually like in langapat na tinghang langapat na like Imphal sungam ho jumi na cha boilo because they have accessibility to everything. And there was this trade apparel and trade center where people were getting trained for stitching and everything, pattern making, all the skill development was happening in that. But for us, eho tinghang mi ho dinga chu chi chu umlo cho phai sunga chu na because tinghang langa iga di phating le anne zolo ta tam ta mi umahin. And when you try to, you know, convince those people to come down and get trained, am hoding achu accessibility to boy aboy za education July training center to kasim nom za kana padahin na. I did have that in mind what your question was. Ahi nga bang sit pia two boy partner so everything just went in one go. Tuahi if given a chance in the future kathano me na so to boldi because eho alhang pia tinghang mi atam zohi pun kong team itamu maybe khut thep langa chu pathen APO hi mai the hai na because pun khong thim tam ima khut them hi tam tho hin. So if there can be a center where we pat he hon pat he edu ga se dinga na example la pat he hon pat he edu ngo apat han he do ho chu a khong the hon an khon dingo a khon do pon ho chu finish ball ding chu phat ding le a product sin dinga a khui the ho train ball a khui di chi da bang center kha chu hum kum sa the le chun gampa ma ta mun mun na ki the je pa hui ball I ball hom je dingo I khan to je do hin. I am very much keen to do that.
Agi China no hin nong dong win. I just want to ask one question. Thing mana armed forces lang alut num num just maybe to be frank. Anyone of you interested thinking about it? Koi man thanum lo na. Yeah, that's what I know. Seems to be the great. Maybe kay mid mo hintin na ay kaya kagala na chunga sombe om nante bala question and answer om nante katiza chunja su kiphalam do pumaka ha selo hinna. I'll just say 1 minute why it is a good career. With one option, not a good career. Every career have its own charms. I'll just say 1 minute. CS, armed forces, if you come, you are well settled early. Plus, it gives you security, na security. In la ata mga salary chul kito sa hong na. Plus, any pay commission, army aso hong masana, chita. Plus, lots of benefits like CSD ho chune hen ho chula na quarters, CSD, everything. Plus any medical is one of the costliest into this world. In kote khachum medical is just like black hole tabong chu khat velu leuchen na thamkhat le themai le chun hospital thamkhat o haya khun lut leuchen na sum chu ni sia chu kisun la tho tabong chu. So but if you are in army or something any armed forces, the best of the facility will be available to you free of cost to you and your dependent parents and everything. Plus chebo se hello I thing hangmi ho chu ki cheplang ki thanom elo sports person everything. That's why we always have an advantage. Kol hoto ki ba lo nau chu yo hi ipil jamo chu fit jamo chu. Maybe only thing is that height langa thamkhat ebang compensate that we are more agile or faster something na. Yo training so chu ki head do chu le kol ho chu le thau thim le nob de but aki ham bol chu mo khoi ho sanga itia ku but they catch up. Yo chu ki ham bol lawa hina sao chu kilut ja so training chu nupta ho na so anuman do training chu. It is not difficult. And if you want to pursue any career, any hobby, army every facility is available. Compared to Air Force or Navy, among mountaineering, horse riding, shooting, even if you Olympic chanaw ki team khola army ho. So any hobby you can pursue. The best part about army is that qualification lekha na simbenu mayong we support it. Based of the institute in India chito hin license kinaiza course ki bolji cho. And the better thing is qualification asang tilcha na cho army in jong government jong sum loan pi be just like qualification grant incentive na cho sikipi. Just like a helicopter pilot ka hija chu not everyone is a pilot. Kya chu every month I'm getting some flying pay around plus 30k plus just for flying. Army salary chu chom ta chu ke ma profession thep na khat ka jil be ja chu na they reward me. So thep na khat ka jil be kin just because of the qualification pay chika kamu kite. And wherever you are just like posted to feel peace ahe le follow ja family to nom kom be low. If you go to field area maybe it's Ladakh aja so they give you around 40-50k again extra. You will be taken care of because you cannot stay with your family, then again government take care of you. So opportunity is good, revenue is good, and it is a lifelong pension, and you will be even saving. If even something bad happens to me, my family will get all the benefits and for the lifelong, the dependent. So that's the thing I the younger generation to consider, especially even sportsmen also you can come and join. Sports akan than object sahi I used to be very interested. Fly ka ball just I shift ka ball. So you whatever you want to be, you can continue your passion or dreams through army, if you are really interested. Even for girls, and especially for girls, India to women empowerment light as tu chungi. India no may lose so na, no may hoju siya now achieve so. Highlight ke ball because we want to show the world. So it's an opportunity for the girls to take it. I'm not selling it well, that's why I'm just taking it time again. Thank you.
Pao me tu chung resource person so he diverse background cha chung chuma hu ki ko hin. A chung che over ki pa thui se ovin damso du henlang hat zingon hu henlang a thilbol now lol hin u henlang thong ma chal zingon hin. Tun gift pe do na khat in edu hin education secretary pan apart hong ki man.
Tun gift pe do na yutin chiting a gift pe do ding a chung advisor KSOD advisor pangam len kang ko we to a gift assistant education gift chicken chui do pe lo chung ki pamente chi hi to a chi linear order ai kong chi de tan na cha chi dung ja dong ding deu lim hi klai di mak la ta na chai ki ding di ki la tan te na ama sa penin tunia panelist ang panpiu Mr. Roslyn Khongsai ma gift pito na neute ibo sa ko te ngote abana tuni second panelist ang panpiu Dr. Mercy Khaute kong to athum chan na tuni panelist ang panpiu Gogou Hangshing ali chan na tuni panelist fourth na ang panpiu Dominic ang chan na tuni panelist ang panpiu Lieutenant Colonel Chonjagin Lunkim. Nabon ta chung win ka kipano KSOD&NCR ko na kipano sangpen ka pong we tun host nun pan kila kitante.
Tun VP pan vote of thanks ang pidihin ibon sa len sa ohita.
Your future depends on what you do today. Mahatma Gandhi. Na. So, masapinin hin ko ning katin. Sule tu ni ang kigo na ko na tu ni program nung kaya damtain chai sao papatin chunga tangwa na kain pimasain. Sule tu ni ahong kisaya hong nom sule ahong pang resource person ay hong panpiu Dr. Mercy for her detailed explanation of every question, and Lieutenant Colonel Chonjagin Lunkim for his enthusiastic and energetic response, and to Roslyn for sharing her heartfelt thoughts, and to Dominic for being the translator for Dr. Mercy when needed, and also to the star of the show today, Gogou Hangshing, for giving us an honest response and giving us a good laughter. And also to all of you, what is a program without the audience? So I would like to thank all the audience, all the students, and also the KSOD&NCR Education Department for taking up this program as their own and making it a successful event. And also I would, at the last, I would also like to thank the area leaders and the volunteers who have made this event a successful one. Thank you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Pa patin cha pa patin thagau thing patin. Ka ki pau ve ha pa phat sot ta hi chi togun kin gun kan nei ho tun ya nangin pakai. Amun amol nei thut na ban wa ka program te ho apula pada pakai atop chan. I ma cha boi nom no hela lol hing sela chai thia nei koi jimin ka ki pau na min thing lo pisang tan kan thang wa ve. A chung nung ka pathen pakai tu ni hin ha pa nang ma phat thei mo na ka chan te ho so pi zan ham khadin pakai amau hin khu apat ato atham na wa pa na khununga ahung seilin ding khang thai zan ham khat pakai til ho na nei te ho hi muchi phata nang man nei tu lut pi jewin ka ki pawin na kom ki pa thu ka hin se ve tu ne helai mo na hung zau zau si pakai aphat ai lo le energy ai lo la suma pahin senga chilai mun hong ho resource person ho yan lang ai lo le hi chilai mun angai thla ding hong ho zau si pakai nangin tu ni ka zau ka ki hil na ho ka sei do ho hi ka lung sung wa pakai phathin bo a phat khat le tu ni ka za ji wa pakai ga su nom thina ding na kom ka taw bi hi ka program te ho im zau si nangin pakai na lagau thing thil bol theina na van til te obian bit sa na nei chai sa ji na kom ki pa thu ka hin sei ve chuban le pa ichlai buna kona kong ki khan do phat zong le ka in mun cheu dam le bina nangin ma nei pu nei thut so kai divin na kom ka hung taw ve mehem ka hibin pakai na lo chalo thei kai povin refreshment kai ki gon te ho zong ni zau si adinga pakai ta sa le thagawa dam na hi a ki pa na hi a han to ma cha nei thei na dingin ka ne ka don de ho nei su thing piwin phat thei nei bo piwin tin na kom ka taw vin hi tuni ni khwa pakai chilai mon hong khom zau se kamimal hin kho hin chubal le lam chom choma ka ki sa boi naw ka to ka tham naw simlai ho a ki gon naw azil naw asim naw pakai nangin hepa phat thei nei bo so ke divin na kom ka hong taw vin hi mem hi na a tuni ka ki man cha na wa nang ma thu to ki to lo ai lo le nang ma dei bong helo ka sei do ka bol dom le ki chilai mona hi da la nang ma ngai dam nei chan sa divin na kom ka taw ve ka to ka thamu ka bol ho zo su pakai kamimal hin kho ai lo le ka society wa dinga khan to ma chan na phat thei nei bo wa nang ma lo pin zo si hung chang ding he changa chu chon sin thina kam lai to wa athisan man tam ta hem cha do ke ho adinga hin ko hin phala hung thia thau kit Jesus Christ min ting panan hinga kong taw hi amen.